right. It's a beautiful day in the neighborhood today. Really is pretty today. It's probably going to be pretty hot. So, just got to work. Lots to do today. Receipts together. That one's got to go over there. Oh, yeah. Okay. Got the Wi-Fi on. I got to go pay the internet today. I think all the post-it notes are in my car. Okay, so let's see, we gotta have milk, cream, and cappuccino. Gotta pay the Wi-Fi. Wish I could get to wash the trays and do some laundry. But that won't be today's picture. And my computer's a little bit slow today. Let's take this time. Good morning, good morning. I think it'll be pretty warm today. Probably be around 80, 85, something like that. Doo-doo-doo. I wish I could take my ring down and get it set. It really needs it. So let's see, I got my grocery list today. I gotta go pay the Wi-Fi. Gotta do some price changing again. Huh. Let's see. May 1st. I got 5 items left I could list. I hope I can find some good stuff to list today here and there. I got tons, trust me. So, here we go. Let's see what we've got in most views. Wow. Hmm. Interesting. Okay. So every time I make price changes, it's making a difference of views, and they were saying it doesn't, but it actually does. That one we earn price change. That one we want price change. Let's go here. All right. Which way did it go? Good morning, good morning. All right. So, let's see. Move those two. Yeah, it's perfect. Delete this one. Got lots to do today. Oh my gosh. Hope we get some sales today. That would be very nice. All right, let's see. Two. Those shoes are so cute. Oh my gosh. Okay. Yesterday I went and like changed price on so much stuff yesterday. I wasn't gonna do that much, but it did. Stuff's gotta move. Hmm. Perfect. I can change that price. I'll go ahead and change this one. Well, my friends from Eglin will be here in a few days. That would be neat. So that auction site, I don't know how that's going to go. I've thought about it so much. I'm kind of thinking maybe it's something I don't want to get into. Kind of thinking it's got some illegal things about it, and I really don't want to be into things like that. I like to keep it clean, you know what I mean? Got a thumbs up, woohoo! Thank you. Okay. I was watching Daily Refinement yesterday, my friend in California up in San Francisco that does a lot of online business. He teaches people how to sell on the internet. Got a Patreon and all that kind of stuff. And they were trying to design some basic framework of what are important aspects of getting into, selling online. And it's kind of interesting. Hey, hey, how are you? Did you look at it? Did you go up there and check that stuff out? Because that is really strange. I don't know. And all these emails they send me, like like, they're like, no, no, we don't need you. And then, yes, we need you. And I just, man, I don't know. I really do feel like I'm talking to like a 12 or 13-year-old kid on a computer that just designed a business or something. Their site is terrible, and the actual auction site is just ridiculous. There's not many people on there. I mean, for what, I don't think there is. Okay. Um, and uh, I went on there several times this week and clicked on every single auction that was running, and it was like 80% of them were running. I looked at the whole list. I scrolled all the way down, and there really wasn't anything in there. And even when you sign up, it asks you like, uh, what area did you want to sell in, and even the selections don't even make any sense. Because I'm like, well, I'm not that, but I'm not the Pokemon card, but I have baseball cards. You know, um, and then you'd think they'd have, it's like writing chapters in a book. Not in person, just the vlog. Weird that they wanted all the info and you might not have even been approved. Well, yeah, they keep going back and forth. If what I need to do is vlog it with something else I have here, and then read you guys those emails. They are so strange. Um, it's really strange. I mean, I wouldn't babysit it that much if it were me. You know, if I don't want you, I don't want you. You know, if I don't think you're a good suit for my business, then I'm done. But they keep coming back, and I don't know exactly what they're trying to say. You know, when they're like, okay, um, can you show us your inventory or something? And you know, and I try to do that video because it says video or picture, and I try to do that video of my office where I have all my, you know, a lot of my retail stock, um, uh, which it's only like 1/4 of it. You know, the rest is in the storages, and then, you know, that didn't work, and I couldn't take a successful one picture of it because I didn't know how many pictures you could enter. I assumed it was one, which I was right. So I drove down to storages and then you know, threw one open. Well, threw both of them open. I was gonna, you know, photograph both of them because there's a lot of retail in the front of the other one, and there's a bunch of my daughter's stuff in there that I need to sell off too, and most of it's brand new with tags. So I just can't keep paying the houses stuff, man. You know, it's hurting me. So I went to take a picture of one commercial storage and got that, loaded it, and then that was it. It was like you couldn't load anymore. And I'm like, what the hell? And all it is a bunch of, you know, like 20-gallon bins that are labeled, you know, like children's clothes, you know, accessories, makeup, you know, pants, dresses, you know, whatever. And so, you know, and then, you know, I added a few sentences. Okay, I'll retail this, 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 and this. You know, I mean, what is it that you're exactly looking for? And they are looking for certain things because there's somebody that was referred by somebody else that applied and got accepted right after they applied. But they sell toys, new box toys, and so you know, they need to explain themselves. Really, they do. Especially when they keep emailing me back and forth because it makes no damn sense. Um, you know, and then they sent some more emails. And then the next day they're like, can you, you know, send us a picture of what you know, wish to sell? I had good gardeners in here. Uh, just checked, it seemed fine. I have my Wi-Fi on today. I always forget to turn it on the phone. Just checked, it seemed fine. I was scrolling through, saw a picture with a cigarette in a dog's mouth. What? What? In a live auction? They're gonna get hit with animal abuse, man. Oh no, how tacky. But yeah, and then, you know, they were like, so Sonia, can you send us a picture of, you know, what you wish to sell? And I'm like, well, so I'm thinking, well, okay, I'll open, you know, a few bins here. So I opened one bin that had all nice and neat in bags, baby clothes. Photographed that, sent that an email, went over and opened a box of jewelry that has all display boxes in it, all set up. You know, like I could go do an event right now. You know, set them a lot on the table. It's all ready. And I've had those for years. And so, you know, I'm ready to do an event at any time. And so I, you know, opened that case and photographed that, and then pulled a few of the cases out and photographed them. And it's a picture of an upcoming auction. Oh my gosh, these people are going to be in trouble. I can see it. I've been feeling the heat from here. So I, you know, sent those pictures, and you know, I'm trying to figure out what they're trying to say. I mean, are you trying to say, you know, send us a picture of, you know, some inventory you would like to run in an auction, like right now, how it would look or something. Or send us what your total inventory is. You know, give us a printout, of what you have or whatever. I mean, I don't know. I've never been through anything like that before. They don't do it on eBay. They don't do it on Amazon. They don't do it on Mercari. They don't do it on Etsy. They don't do it on Bonanza. They don't do it on eBay. And that's, they used to have Yahoo sales and AOL sales years ago, and I was on those sites too. And none of those asked me stuff like this. Um, and then, they wanted to know every single site I sold on, my personal website, my YouTube channel, my TikTok channel, which is commercial. My TikTok channel is a commercial account. All I do is advertise, my clothes and shoes and things that I make and stuff, and jewelry and things. It's advertising, it's commercials. So I went and got in a commercial account on there, and because I was getting harassed a lot, so I turned around and just went ahead and just made it a commercial account, so that it shows that that's exactly what I do. And so, somebody reported nude and sexual activity for two one-piece bathing suits on mannequins. And right now, that's kind of hanging up in the air. That's going to be a very prospective lawsuit. Um, don't jack with people's stuff; it will get you in trouble. And I'm going to be right there rooting, going hoot hoot hoot. You go to jail, because it's hurting my business, and you're terrorizing and stalking me when you do that. Um, and you're abusing the platform. You know, they don't respect that whatsoever. But that's also internet harassment. So yeah, so I went and made it a commercial account, so it's absolutely 100% obvious that we aren't doing any sexual activity or anything like that. And I mean, they were one-piece bathing suits. It wasn't even like they were teabag. So I mean, I don't know, but yeah. So I had to give them those, and it seemed like they were just taking people with. The first thing they say is you have to be, a social influencer, uh, you know, um, uh, and I'm like, well, all they're taking is, people with, like 1 mil subs and stuff. I'm not quite to 1 mil subs. So I'm looking at, it seems that all the sellers on there are YouTubers. And, I go and look at their YouTube thing, and, they've got like 400K subs. They've got, mil subs. I mean, and it's like, well, they're not going to, fool with me probably. I don't know. And then this other girl, that I was on her YouTube a few times, and she was talking about that place. Jen is her name. Um, and she's done like 4 vlogs about that place. And uh, um, she only had like 600 subs. So I thought, that's kind of interesting. Um, and all she does is like Pokemon cards. And then she decided she wasn't going to sell her stuff that cheap like that. She was taking a loss, and she was about ready to quit. And then she said, I'm just going to go out and get a bunch of used t-shirts. And the site whatnot should have waited before they went online. They clearly weren't ready. Absolutely. I mean, okay, now here's the thing. It says on Dun and Bradstreet that they opened in 2019. All right, so we are in 20 and 22 right now. Why is it that crap is so googed up? Now, I got in on eBid. Ooh, gosh. I think maybe they were up for 2 years, and that's out of the UK. And I had bought into a lifetime membership on there. And they were talking about being bigger than eBay and da 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 da. And, that's when everybody was like flying eBay and Amazon because they were treating us so bad as sellers. And when you bought on there, you bought nothing but garbage. And when you complained about getting garbage, you couldn't get a refund, and sellers weren't shipping, and they were shipping you trash, and they were lying in their ads, and it was just a absolute nightmare. And then all of a sudden, eBay's like, giving the axe to everybody. Amazon is doing repeated audits on everybody, and I mean, there was somebody on Amazon, and they sold electronics, like they sold stereos and stuff like that, and they did the audit on them and hung them up like 3 months, where they still had to ship. And so they were hung up in the thousands. They were like, and you can find it on the internet. They were like, Amazon owes me, like 22K, and my account's still hung up, but I still have to ship. You couldn't go in there and change like how many you had, like change it to 1 or 0. You couldn't stop your ads. There was nothing you could do. And so every time you got orders, which my sites were so successful, I mean, you could sit and watch the orders come in, literally watch them on the computer on their site, where you could see where the person put it in their basket. You could see other things that they were purchasing, and then you could literally see them check out, and then it says, okay, item is sold. And it was amazing. It was constant like that. I was pulling 5K a week back then, every week. And so, they would stop and audit you, especially if you had like a lot of items in one ad. So, if you list stereos and you put, 99, then that was an instant red flag, because I hate drop shipping. That's an absolute 100% big no-no back then. This drop shipping on Amazon or eBay. Um, it's just too much problem. And it says right off the top, you don't have the inventory, you know. And so you're a risk, because you're going to try to sell, under our platform. And then, what happens if it doesn't get shipped, to the customer? So, and I mean, they were really strict back in the day. Amazon, if you didn't ship or you had too many bad ratings, they just canceled you out. So, but that was back in the day when people were really stealing. They were listing stuff they didn't even have. They weren't even drop shipping. They just listed stupid stuff they didn't have, like that girl that sold that Harley, and never had a Harley to sell. You know, People were just getting on there making fake accounts and just, selling whatever, copying other ads and all that, and they get the money and they'd run. And then they never came back to the account again. And you'd report them and you'd leave bad feedback for them, and even Amazon wouldn't do poop. But yeah, so I got on eBay through the UK. I ended up buying a lifetime membership. Another good friend of mine, Jack, I told him he used to make model airplanes, beautiful model airplanes. And I said, man, you need to get on this site, you know. And he had a website of his own too, but websites don't do real well like these platforms do. Most people are just going to search the internet and go to where they know. So if there's 10 ads that come up and show the prices, they're usually going to take the cheapest price and go there. And, the first thing that comes up is like Walmart, Amazon, eBay, all that kind of stuff. Lowe's, Target, and that's where they're going to go. Just the first line they read. So, I mean, it made it really hard for personal websites, because unless it's a really high trafficked website. Now, mine used to be, and my stuff used to come on the top of the search engine all the time, and I never paid for advertisement or ad placement or any of that crap. My site was just a very renowned site because of me. And so when I wasn't around and I was working in Florida and I had customers in California, the best way for them was to go on my website, because I didn't know when I would be back, because I didn't set schedule. I was called all around the states. I could be in Mississippi and Georgia would call and say, look, we got a lot of new girls here, and we need some out security, vests for the guys that, work here. Where are you at and when can you be here? And, you know, I would finish up where I was working, or if it was slow, I'd go ahead and deadhead out. It didn't make a difference if it's 3 in the morning or 6 in the morning. I would roll, because the sooner I could get there, the sooner I could catch that money, you know, and you really don't want to make them wait. And I flew like that all over the States for years and years, you know. Um, you know, I might be in one place for, you know, 3 hours. I might be in another place for 3 weeks. It just depends, you know, where people called me to and how good the money was. If the money was crappy, then I rolled out, go to the next place, because I knew where to go from California to Florida all year round. So that's what I did. But you know, and the internet has never done me really well. You know, I mean, back when I was doing 5K a week, but that was a product I invented, I had produced, and I did it right in the beginning when it was hot. You know, it was e-cigs. I designed my own, and created my own juices that were safe for people, because the stuff coming from China had too many chemicals we don't know about. Um, you know, and they didn't even have ingredients list on those bottles, and people were selling them in liquor stores and in gas stations and all, and you didn't even know what was in it. You know, and really, do you really want to do that? You really want to put that in your body? So, you know, I was banking, you know, on my juices. I had labels and bottles and all that stuff, and you know, I had all my, you know, placard advertisements and stuff. Did all that through Vistaprint. You know, so when I'd ship an order, I could, you know, throw a couple of little placards in there with, you know, like every flavor that I designed in the juices, and, you know, the other accessories that I sold, and stick that in the order, and they would come back and buy more. You know, I did great. But uh, you know, it was really super neat. And I can't tell you the people that I had manufacturing, I can't tell you how many orders I would make constantly. I mean, every day I had shipments coming in. So, yeah. But that became a real serious problem. You know, Amazon and eBay started locking down on it, but they we're still letting sponsors come in. You know, they have these other ads that aren't even people that are on Amazon. And they would be advertising E6R, and they send you an email and go, we don't permit that on our site. But then when you know, clicked on Amazon, the first thing you saw was like 3 ads from sponsored. And it was E6. And I was like, whoa, 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 wait a minute. You know, it's like, you make no sense. You're telling me I can't, but you're advertising for people. So which is it? You know? And we went round and round and round. They banned me to let me back on. They banned me to let me back on. And we just went round and round constantly. So then eventually I dropped just the E6. And a friend of mine, a lawyer, his son quit being in the office lawyer to go work with his wife to open an E6 store up in Dothan. And I knew the people very well, all of them. And I, you know, went over to their brand new store, because it was really a problem if you wanted to sell them in public. Because we were debating if you needed to card somebody for e-cigs, or just the juice, or what you had to do. And then if you sold juice without nicotine in it, did you still have to card them? And then were they going to put um, restrictions in, like they do with cigarettes, where you'd have to get a cigarette permit and then charge a tax on each item? And there was a lot of things going on. And so I went up to their store when they opened, and it was like deader than a doornail. I think they had one customer come in. And then they were selling them online. They had a little website, and they were selling them online. And I said, how do you do that? And she's like, well, we're doing it. And I'm like, wow. I was like, so like you don't get like their, you know, virtual thing with their ID or something in case it's a minor, maybe? Because that's what the problem was boiling down to with eBay and Amazon, was we don't know if we're selling to minors. Okay, so I respect that. You know, I respect that. And at that time, it was like you had to be over 18 to buy cigarettes.
So yeah, any kid could get online with mom's credit card and be buying some crap, and beat her to the mailbox, right? So I could understand that. But so that then that was the next problem, was they just really didn't think it was a cool thing to have listed, and everybody was selling them. I was an inventor, I was a creator, um, and these other people were just taking other people's stuff and selling it and buying it on the internet and reselling it and making profit and selling them all day long like gangbusters. And they were just flying. I mean, it was hard to believe the sales of e-cigs. And so, and it was working out real well because California had got so strict with the no smoking thing. It's like you can't smoke anywhere in California. You can't smoke driving in your car. I mean, it's just ridiculous. You have to be 150 foot from any building. So like you can't. They restrict where you smoke outside. Okay. Hey, there's Nelson. Good morning, my friend. So, yeah. So I had gone down, and I see a Jesus scrolling down more, and now I see a pic of somebody. I don't know what they're doing on there. I thought, well, maybe they're just kind of doing everything on that site. I thought, are they like, got strippers on there and, doing the nudes? Are they, selling, used panties, socks, and shoes? I mean, how diverse does that website get? You know what I mean? But I didn't see anything like that. I just saw lots of garbage stuff that you would throw in the trash. Just stuff you would throw in the trash. There was guys selling tennis shoes, name brand tennis shoes, and like the freaking toe was dented in it, the one he was showing on camera. And I'm like, so that's not even a new shoe. I mean, I wasn't seeing quality, man. But anyway, so it got really messy, and I was talking to her and her husband, who's a lawyer, the son of another lawyer, was a dear friend of mine, and I said, so how are you doing? He said, look, I quit being a lawyer because the money is flying. So I come here, we got this property, and my wife and I are just really doing great, and I think it's going to be good. And I said, man, I don't know. I think we're looking into getting restricted. I think they're going to tax us like cigarettes. And I think that, they're only going to allow so many e-cigs to be approved. Now, I was approved, and I was getting ready to go in stores, and all that. And I was getting ready to cut a deal with Walmart and their Walmart gas stations and some other place. I was getting ready to hang in there, and then it just went crazy because they only approved like the first 6 or 7 sellers that came out, and then the rest was like it's illegal, it's illegal, it's illegal. So I was in the right in the beginning, and I was probably the third creator. Okay, um, and it's funny when you hear what drug heads say. There was a girl that bartended at a strip club that didn't have really a penny to her name, and she was a drug head. And she had gone to a good friend of mine and said, he was money man, and she said, look, I want to invest in e-cigs and sell them. And then he called me and he said, you can't believe she came to my house and she wanted like, $1,000 because she said she was going to invest in e-cigs and sell them. And I laughed and I said, I don't know about all that. It sounds bogus as hell. It sounds more like stuff that they're going to trying to smoke weed out of, which you couldn't do it. You'd ruin an e-cig if you smoked weed in it. And you couldn't just stick it in there and smoke it. And there's a lot about that. Because weed is so gooey, it would trash up the e-cig, and they're really expensive. Uh, Jeffrey Nelson, your attorney, did I hear that correct? Um, yeah, it was my and I don't mind telling you because they're still in business in Dothan. It used to be a prom dress shop, and it's Terry Bullard, who's fabulous. Man, if you ever get in trouble up there, I have friends that have told me they did craziest stuff in the world, and Terry Bullard got him out of it. And I think he told me he's only lost 2 cases ever in his life. And then his son is also a lawyer, and his son left the Bullard offices and went to go hang out in the e-cig store that he and his wife bought, a building out on the corner in Dothan, right down at the circle across from the mall. And they opened an e-cig store, and right in the beginning. And the best part about that was, and a lot of his reasoning was because he was a lawyer. And so, because we were expecting a lot of problems, you know, with the authorities and the state and all that, because it was such a good thing and the money was flying so well, that we thought, well, there's going to be some hurdles here at one point. And we were right. They tried, the EPA started clamping down on it, going, no, we don't approve it. No, it's made out of, antifreeze from your car. And, and it just got cuckoo. And the biggest problem is what people were making the juices out of. They were just throwing whatever together, and they didn't know what they were doing. And when you're handling nicotine, it's poison. And you have to know what you're doing. So you have to really pay attention when you're making juices, because you could kill somebody. And you can't go over the limit. I had, bartender friend of mine in one of the clubs. He now works over in Panama, over at the something blue over there, that really expensive place. It's like $100 a drink and everything. He said, I could use some juice, but I smoke. I think he said he smoked like 28 or 30. I said, I don't even make e-cig juice that strong. I'm not doing it. I said, how do you even get that? Because that's over the limit. And he goes, well, that's what I smoke. And I said, well, I can't do it. I cannot do it. Even as a friend on the side, I cannot do it, because I have to label the stuff and everything. And God, if that, chased me down years later, I'd be in jail. So, no way.
Gifts. Got to start my day. Remember, I'm interested in bicycle pills. I've got some in a box, actually, in storage. I was just thinking about that the other day. That and ice cream trucks. Those are the happiest memories. But yeah, so he went and they opened that e-cig store in Dothan. And the reason he was there was because he was a lawyer. And it was right on the money. And boy, when things started getting hairy, I'd drive up there and go visit with them for about an hour and standing in the store. And I couldn't figure out how they were selling them online. I was like, how do you sell it online, without taking ID? Or anything. And they're like, well, we do. And, I was scared to do that. I was really scared to do that. And then, they would tell me all the reasons how you could do it and everything and all that. And then all of a sudden they slammed us all. You had to take ID because of the nicotine. It wasn't the e-cig, because the e-cig is nothing. It's nothing more than like a screwdriver. You know what I mean? It's nothing. It's not illegal. And so we didn't have to worry about that. The problem was the e-cig juices. And so then it boiled down to, well, if you took the nicotine out, there's a lot of kids decided they wanted to have e-cig. And so then it was like really scary, because they wanted to do the blowing parties and make smoke and all that caca. And so, you had to, if you could sell the e-cig juice without the nicotine, it was legal. You could sell the e-cig without any juice or anything by itself, it was legal. It's like buying a screwdriver at Harbor Freight. And so it got really hairy, and eBay and Amazon just kept shutting people down. I remember they slammed me like 3 times, and I had gone up to see a friend of mine. I was pulling 5K a week. Constantly. I was just, I'm packing orders. I'm going to the post office 3 times a day because, I keep my good ratings. It was incredible. And so, and I was just getting ready to go through a divorce at that time. And so anyway,
uh, they slammed us so hard and so bad on eBay, and Amazon. They finally banned me from Amazon. They said, you're like banned forever for life. You're going to, freaking, uh, we'll send you to Amazon, or, I mean, they were pissed. Ship you off to a buffalo herd and go submerge your head in a fish tank. I mean, they were mad as piss. But they still let people sell. You get on there and you go, well, there's only like 450 sellers today. And it was constant, constant. And they were selling hand over fist, and you want to cry. It's like all my money, all my money. Because I was a top seller. And then they still had all those sponsored ads. And even when they had just about got e-cigs down, everybody started renaming it vape cigs, vapes, vape sticks, all that, so that eBay and Amazon couldn't find it. But I mean, you found it, and eventually they did, and they tried everything, you know, and they had cigarette accessories they listed as like under cigarette cases. They did everything they could, and it just was total bull. And so I got tired of fighting them. And I was doing good on eBay, and I didn't sell. When it got hairy, I took the e-cigs down. I just sold juices, because everybody was still selling juices and selling them by the tons. So I sold those. Then it got kind of scary. They sent me a message one day and said, we don't allow e-cigs and we don't allow nicotine products on our site. And although they were selling other kinds of nicotine products, people were selling cigars and stuff, and it's like, dude. So anyway, I said, okay, sorry. So I'm looking on the site, and now here's one guy, and he's selling hand over fist, no nicotine juice, like selling 15 bottles an order. You know what I mean? People are just buying them, boom, boom, boom. So that means people are buying your juices, and they're going somewhere to buy the nicotine and adding it to it, or it's a bunch of kids buying it so they can blow smoke. So, I don't know if it was the e-cig or vape thing. I remember a story of one blowing up in someone's face. See, that was the big problem. That's what set the whole industry off. And that was, down in Florida, right over the state line from where I was located at that time, when I had my shop over there. And it was a serious thing. But that was a different kind of e-cig. I didn't sell anything like that, and I never sold any of those, and I never will. I did not believe in it when it came out. I thought it was ultimately dangerous, and it is very true. They also had one where it burned somebody's house down. Um, so, um, so anyway, then I was selling, the e-cig juices, hand over fist like this other guy on there, and he was selling like 15 at a time. The money was good. And I make really good e-cig juices. And then, next thing you know, they slammed us again. We don't allow e-cig juice or e-cigs. I said, well, those are no nicotine. They're like, you would have to take ID. I said, it's no nicotine. I'm not selling anything anymore than, a kid could go buy in Walmart and put it all together himself. A minor child could go in there and buy the stuff and put it together himself. And they said, well, no, we're not doing it. We're not doing it. We can't take the liability. And then right about that time is when, the dude had the e-cig that blew up in his face. And so that, I'll tell you what that story was, because that was not even 10 miles from me where that happened. And I didn't really believe it at first. I thought it was some internet hoodoo, but it was really true. The guy had bought a box e-cig. It's like the size of a cigarette pack, and one end has a tip on it that you smoke, like a cigar tip on it, and then it has all these batteries in it, and it's just entirely too much power. Okay, way too much power to be put in by the face. And what had happened was the son of a gun blew up. And yeah, it jacked his face. And it was the beginning of a 100% nightmare. But they blamed all the e-cigs. They didn't just blame that one cigarette box. I forget what they call them. Um, they blamed them all, and that was really bad. It's like, man, I would never sell that crap. And today it's very popular. People are smoking those big box cigs, and I still don't like them. It makes me very nervous. Two, if you leave them plugged in your house and you leave, or you leave them plugged in your car, it will set your freaking car on fire. It will burn your house down. They cannot sit in a charger just like any other item that you would own that has a battery, whether it be, your car phone, whether it be, a kid's toy or power tool. Overcharged batteries blow up, okay? And it catches on fire. It's serious crap, and you're talking acid and stuff. So that's when the nightmare began, and they started really locking down on him, and then all the ads and the writings is going all over the internet and the newspaper is, e-cigs are bad, evil, they need to be banned, they're no good, and they're just trash. Just it's like they have a commercial now with a black guy and a dragon or something. He's like, if you smoke an e-cig, you don't know what you're putting in your body. Well, I agree to that at a point. Okay, it depends who's making the damn juice. That stuff coming from China, you do not know what is in it, because when you could order wholesale and you're trying to find the ingredients list and they're not giving it to you. Okay, so and I'm really funny about ingredients. When I got my hair license, I had to take chemistry as a prerequisite, and so you had to know the chemical makeup of products and stuff, and so I'm a real funny person about what's inside. Okay, if I would not use it on myself, I would not use it on a client or a friend. All right. So, my number one thing is, if you're selling a product, you need to tell me what's inside. And I mean, that's the law in the United States. You have to tell me what's inside. But, the Orient had really good deals on juices, and a lot of people were ordering them and reselling them. If they would wait 4 weeks to have it shipped, it takes forever to get stuff from the Orient. And they were just selling this stuff like wildfire, and just everybody's buying it, and they don't understand the risk. So you're standing there going, well, yeah, my stuff's better because I have ingredients on my label. And mine says exactly how much nicotine's in it, or if there's any nicotine in it at all. And I don't go over the limit. I'm not going to sell you anything beyond. I think I used to sell only to 26. And that was it. And I would sell from 0 to 1 to 3, and that's as high as I went. It was something like that. I can't remember what it is. I'd have to look at my paperwork. But it was, I stopped at a certain number. I didn't get way up there because, they tell you when you're reading about using that nicotine and thinning it down. I mean, it's by the drops when you make it, okay? And it's really critical. They tell you over and over again, you could kill somebody if you use too much, if you don't mix it right. And there was a big EC company that first opened. It used to send the stuff in a real pretty box and all that. And matter of fact, I have one. And I had ordered juice from them, and man, I almost died. That stuff was so strong. And I was like, I sent them emails. And I'm like, what did you do? Because I was like blacking out, And it's because a dumbbell put too much damn nicotine in it, and I was getting poisoned. And it's just really critical. You have to be really careful. Follow the instructions. I mean, um, and certainly if people were using it to quit smoking, which that was the big thing too, was how to get rid of cigarettes because they got so damn expensive. So if you're quitting smoking, the whole idea was to keep reducing how much nicotine you were intaking till you could get off of it, because it's a serious addiction. And so, if somebody orders, 6 milligram nicotine e-cig juice and you send them 9, it's not doing them any good. So you really need to know how to mix it to get it to that, because you don't want to get them more addicted. They're trying to quit. So it's really critical of getting it right. And yes, I've known some people that quit smoking cigarettes just by using e-cigs. And it was very successful. And they're still alive today. But it became a game. It's like everywhere you went, some stupid butt, if you went to a nightclub, which I work in a lot of them, some stupid butt sitting, and at the bar and smoking up a storm and blowing it in people's eyes and faces, and it hurts your eyes. It doesn't belong in your eyes. I've seen girls go in and blow a huge cloud in the dressing room, you know, and then the dressing room sticks fogged up, and they think that's cute. You know, it got aggravating. If you go somewhere and the people are just puffing away and rolling balls of smoke off their hand and all that in an enclosed building, it was disgusting. You're on the road and all of a sudden the car's smoking out and you think it's on fire, and it's some idiot smoking an e-cig like crazy. I mean, it's just too much problem. It seemed like every kid had an e-cig, and it was the game of playing with it, not so much the addiction of the nicotine. They just liked playing with it and smoking the world up, you know. And it was just aggravating. It was like to the point of like, man, get out of my way, you know. Why are you doing that, but no respect. But yeah, so the whole thing just kind of was a mess. And my friends, they got the lawyer and his wife, they stayed. He had a little office there in the building, and that's why he was there, to protect the business, because he was the backbone. Because anything went wrong, he was there. He said, I just don't have time. Because I said, why would you quit practicing law? And he said, well, I mean, I'm still a lawyer. He said, but I just don't work in the office anymore. I don't have time for that. We're making too much money over here. And it was like, wow. And so the last time I was in Dothan, the place was still there. So I guess they've done really well. But the biggest scare was everybody had to be licensed. And, the only ones that were going to be able to continue selling e-cigs was like the first 6, which I was like the third one, second or third one. And I designed mine. But that's what happened. It just got pretty spaced out. And I wasn't afraid of getting licensing and all that stuff and being approved and all that stuff. I wasn't afraid of that. I knew I had a good product. I designed it. And I had no trouble at all selling it. They came to me running. Okay. And I mean, I had friends that would come to my house and go, man, I want to get e-cig from you. They spend like $200 with me, and it's like, man, it's freaking wonderful, you know, and everything's $200, $200, $100, $200. It's just great. And I had all the accessories and the gorgeous cases and all the neat stuff and the little freebies I threw in and, all that. But I was one of those that I did not believe in the thing hangs around your neck. I didn't think you need to be hanging on your neck. And because it makes the juice run into the battery and that's going to create a fire or whatever. I didn't believe in the big box cigs. Juices that were ordered from China and all that kind of stuff. I just, either you make it and you make sure people are safe, forget it. And then the cigarette stores started selling, and they were selling all kinds of different stuff, and the prices were so far out there. My God. And so I stopped producing mine, and then for a little while I bought other people's stuff and run it, because people still kept asking me for it. And I had to order a bulk order to have them produced. And I just didn't want to put any more, big money out on them. Because I just didn't think it was going to make. It was just being too problematic. It was kind of like bootlegging and not being licensed, and then you get part of your licensing, so then you pass the first step,
and then you're sure everything's going to be okay, and then 5 million other people are producing them illegally, and it was just, I said, this thing's just kind of wore out, and it may be 100% banned, and I didn't want to get stuck with a whole bunch of stock. That was the big thing. If you get stuck with a whole bunch of stock and you can't sell it by law, all of a sudden, then what do you do with it? You'll get in trouble if you give it away. So I didn't want to get hung up with my money tied up like that. So I just kind of walked away from the whole thing. It was just too much trouble. I had a family member who had a cigarette around a big oxygen tank she was on, and it blew up. They do. They do. Um, uh, if they tell you don't smoke, and I've known people that smoke cigarettes with a damn tank flying with a crap hooked up on their mouth, and scared the living piss out of me. I had a very good friend of mine, Rusty, and I was like, oh my god, they smoked in the house all the time, and I couldn't believe it. My friend Pat did the same thing. She was on oxygen with like a 40-foot long cord, and she was real avid smoker, and yeah, she would like freaking go do that for about 4 minutes and then set the thing down and then be smoking. And I was like, how do you even smoke in a house with that thing? um yeah, it's scary to death. But yeah, all those things are incredibly flammable, and you don't realize it's still in the air. If you ever saw, they had these lighters years ago, and you had to put butane. What was it? It wasn't butane, it was before butane. And they were lighters. They probably still make them. They flip. They click when they flip open. It took some of the house. Oh, I don't doubt it. And the insurance company probably didn't pay because they screwed up. But they had these lighters. But they flipped, and you spun the wheel, and then it lit it, and it had this smell. And they they excuse me, my hair is wet. I just got out of the gym. Um, they uh, really smelled bad, and they outlawed them. The first thing they did was like outlaw them on airplanes because they're afraid the airplane would blow up because it floats. I mean, before you even light the lighter, once you click that top bag, you can smell it. Okay, so it's floating in the air. The particles are floating in the air, so that's flammable. And that's kind of like with oxygen and stuff. That stuff is in the air. Helium, oxygen, all those things. Once it's dispersed into the air, it's there. You know, and you don't know where it is, and you don't know how long it's there. And I mean, a lot of stuff, just like gas coming out of a gas stove. I watch people do some really stupid crap with the gas flowing, flowing, and flowing, and it's still trying to light it. Still, man, I'm the one that opens every window and every door and like airs that sucker out for 10 minutes before I attempt it again. I do not want to blow my freaking head off. A matter of fact, I had a friend of mine, Trina, in she worked at a restaurant in West Elton, Arkansas. And she went down there like 3 in the morning to go, fire up the kitchen and then start cooking the breakfast because there was a lot of fishermen and boat people would come and eat there, and then truckers and farmers. And so she would leave like 3 in the morning, go start the restaurant up, and start preparing stuff. And she was the actual cook. And I'm not going to say she was a chef, but she was the cook. And 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 Trina was probably 40 years old, and very country, very very country, um, and a doll, but she's looked like a dyke, sounded like a dyke, but she was not. This girl, she could plow your field, and she's pretty incredible. And yeah, and so she had this job, to be the cook over here, and it was like a mom and pop restaurant type thing. And so one of the mornings she went down there, she couldn't get the commercial stove to light, and she was in the oven, kept lighting and lighting, and she had told me this story, and she had this long red hair, naturally red. She didn't wear makeup or dye her hair or anything like that. Because, like I say, this is a girl that climbs up on the tractor and will plow your field. She was, very versatile individual, and so she had
this wavy, like surfer wave hair that was like almost waist length, and it was just there, and it was like red. And she washed it, it hung and dried. I mean, it was just, she had really pretty hair. But like I say, she wasn't the one that does her nails and does makeup and curls her hair or anything weird. She's just ready to wear a girl. So anyway, she's up there really early in the morning, and she had claimed that probably the few beers she had the night before might have messed her up when she got up in the morning. She wasn't totally awake. She wasn't sure how that went, but she was so mad and cussing that stove, she could not get that oven lit, and she had to get the biscuits ready because she had to make like 200 biscuits. And now this girl, she was out of Arkansas. She worked in West Helena, Arkansas, in this little restaurant that was like part of a hotel, like Blue Moon or something. I can't even remember the name of the place, and it's probably been torn down since. It was a billion years ago. She was such a character. She was so funny. It was like watching a comedy show because she was like real serious when she'd tell you stuff, and you just wanted to follow her laughing, and she would get mad at you. She might punch you if you like made fun of her. So you had to be like really listening and hold your breath till you could get away so you could just crack up because she was so horrendously funny. And she's like, so she talked, like real truck driver. She's like, so like I went in the restaurant and I was trying to light that damn stove and I kept trying to light it and the damn thing wasn't working. I had 400 biscuits ready to be cooking. And she's like going on and I'm like, okay. And because see, when I saw her, she was bald and no eyebrows. Okay. And I'm like, Trina, like you cut your hair? And she's like, no, God dang it. And let me tell you what happened. So what happened was she kept trying to light that big commercial oven, the big stainless commercial stove and all that they cook on. And, they have those huge ovens. And she was in there trying to light that oven and could not get that bugger to light. So she finally, I lived around it a little bit in the South, and it's just kind of comes naturally. She's the one that used to say Hawaiian shirt. I'm going to get me one of them Hawaiian shirts one day, And I was like rolling over laughing. I'm like, the only person I ever knew that pronounced both I's. So she's just sweet though, just country. And but you wouldn't want to come across her on a bad day though. So she's like in there trying to light it, and she said, "God dang it, damn thing!" Next thing you know, man, friggin' boom! And I'm like, and the restaurant wasn't even open. She was just trying to set it up, okay? And so she's like, I guess by herself. What a mess. So her hair got singed so bad she had to like pretty much shave it off because I thought she got cancer when I saw her. Because usually that's the first sign. If they get cancer, their hair's shaved off, right? And not everybody loses their hair for cancer. Trust me, I know people that never lost one hair under treatment. So I immediately think, oh, Jesus, Trina's got cancer. But no, that's not what it was. She caught on fire trying to set that oven pilot, and finally it kind of lit, but all the gas that had escaped from running every time she tried to light it, of course that wasn't burned off. So the particles are still floating in the air. And natural gas is not a good thing. It's just like gas station gasoline. I don't care that you're outside. Do you know you can throw a cigarette down, and when it hits that concrete, the gas will catch on fire, blow up, explode because of the spark. It's the spark. The spark will set it off. That's why it tells you don't smoke near a fuel pump. Don't smoke a cigarette while you're pumping gas. I knew people that did that. I mean, I watched a guy, he's like, hell, I could throw a damn, match, in a bucket of gas. I'm like, whoa, don't do that in front of me. And he did, and I was like running, And he was like, it ain't nothing set the damn gas off. I'm like, well, I still don't believe you. And which is true. But yeah, so my good friend ended up bald for a long time and no eyebrows. And she doesn't wear makeup or paint her nails, so don't think she was painting them in. So, and she wore glasses, so that helped. But it was so funny because every time you'd see her, you didn't want to say anything because, I mean, she would punch you out. She was like a big bad sailor. She could pick you up with her pinky. Trina was a character, but she loved you. She loved you more than the world. But oh my gosh, that was so wild. But yeah, stuff that explodes is not good. It's just not good. You have to be careful. Read the instructions because they're real serious, and that's the reason why they tell you don't do it. But you know how people do? They want to be living on the edge. Dun 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 dun. So um, everybody wants to be hanging off that cliff edge and get crazy. Yeah, that is really scary. I have seen security cameras of people running into the pumps. Oh no, no, the best one is when they drive off with the pump still attached to the car. That's so common, especially around here. And it's like, dude, are you drunk? you know? People do it all the time. I've never done it. Um, but people do it all the time, and they literally like rip the whole thing right off the thing. And then it's really true. Like when you see those comedy shows and all that, that stuff really happens. The people literally walk into the store dragging the pump and the hose, going, I'm really sorry," and the others just keep driving. But that's not good either. That's just like stealing gas. It's on video. They got you tagged. They're gonna get you. Um, but I asked a couple gas stations. I'm like, "What do you do when they rip the fuel hose off of there?" Yeah, and they're like, "Well, we can't really do a whole lot." Like, oh my gosh. So yeah, but yeah. So the easy thing just became a horrendous problem, and the publicity, the negative publicity, really made it bad. Um, and yes, the guy that had his face blown off, that was really true. I knew the guy. Um, and it was just not friggin', it was less than 10 miles from my shop down in, I think it was Esto, Florida. But it was stupid crap. No one should have been smoking those big box cigs. They were not right. Things were not right with those. I mean, I studied it a lot, and I did not want to sell them because I just didn't think they were safe. And I was right, you know. Um, so, but I mean, even the ones that I sold, if you left them plugged in overnight, they could blow up your house and catch it on fire. If you left them plugged in. So, but it's just like I said earlier, with anything else that you have to charge with charging batteries, you don't leave it plugged in. Don't do it. Even a cordless phone, don't leave it in the charger thing all the time. Very dangerous. And two, it's the best way to lose it. Because if there's a storm, the lightning hits that line, it jacks that damn phone and it ruins the batteries, and then it hisses and buzzes all the time. So, you need to take it out of that thing. You don't leave it charging all of the time. And especially if there's a storm, take it out and lay it down on the table because it will destroy it. And when you have to go find out how to get batteries for the sucker and order the right one, and then when they come and all, man, it's just better to throw the sucker away and just go buy a new phone. But they used to be really expensive cordless phones. I had one of the first ones when it was very elite in California to have one, and this sucker was huge. Um, I had one that was so good I could drive from my house to the Jack in the Box in my car and be talking on it in the drive-through. Yeah, I was like, people thought like I was famous. They were like, "Oh my gosh, she's like talking on the phone in the car," and because it would reach all the way down the street to the drive-through. Go get some tacos. But yeah, so, um, but yeah, chemicals are dangerous. But yeah, I've known a lot of people that smoked while they were doing their oxygen treatments, while they were doing it. And, I don't know. I just don't know. Um, the crazy crap. My whole week has been kind of kooky, only because I've like been at the wrong place at the wrong time and witnessed things. And I'm like, oh, it's like I shake my head and turn around and go the other way. And that stuff's come back to hit me in the face just because I was at the wrong place at the wrong time. And, um, it's like I don't need all this excess drama. Um, but yeah, especially last night was funny. I was like, oh well, here we go again. I'm trying to like escape from this joint and go be in peace. And as soon as I open the door, it's like the drama has come in. I just walked right through it. I went, boy, don't anybody call my name. You know, I don't want to talk about nothing. Just, I'm out of here. I couldn't believe it. It's like, spaghetti-o. And I didn't even know those people, you know. But I hope I don't get called in over that one and people give me a bunch of hell over that because I don't know what was going on. I don't know those people. The girl looked kind of familiar, and I may be correct, but I may be wrong. Um, but that's kind of here nor there. I don't know what was going on, um, and uh, I was just trying to get from point A to point B. That means exit stage left. I had finished with work. I wanted to be on time, and I wanted to get gone, so I go nighty night. You know what I mean? But I always have it unplugged when it's fully charged, and also take my charge out. Yeah, yeah, that's it. It really good practice. And it's really scary. I've seen security cameras of people running and stuff. Yeah. So, yeah, gas stations are a freaking riot. They really truly are. My brother-in-law, who's no longer alive, my former brother-in-law, he just passed away like a year or so ago, and he he told me one day, you know, he had like 6 dually trucks. He always had multiples of things. He was worse than me, and you know, he had like 6 dually trucks. So he had like 3 little cars, and there was no way in one year he would drive all of those, much less get out and start them all up. He would drive one for like a week, then he'd drive the other one for a couple weeks, and you know, a lot of them just sat. And my husband, who was in the car business, used to tell me, you know, why don't you let me, you know, take some of those trucks and sell them? They're just going to get ruined sitting around. And uh, he's like, oh no, 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 no. And so he had told me I'd gone over to his house. He used to call me to work on his computer all the time. The only person in the world I ever knew that would break the computer daily. And so, you know, I'd say, yeah, when I go up there, I'll go by your place. And so, you know, I think a lot of it was just for company. We just want to talk to somebody, but it got really aggravating. And, you know, he never paid me. It was sickening. And it got to the point where it's like, man, Gerald, you need to at least pay me the gas. I just can't keep, you know, dropping everything and going. So I said, I do this for people. I charge them for it. I go to their house and work on the computer. I charge them for it. Okay. And so he's one of those that's really rich and he wants everything free. And so uh, I went up there and I was working on his computer and he said, yeah, I couldn't believe it. I went to the Walmart gas station over there, he says, and I pulled up and man, they had a bunch of free gas. And he said, so I guess the guy before me, because he had to put diesel, most of those trucks were diesel. He said, so I guess the guy before me didn't get all his gas. And he says, man, you know, I about filled my tank up. And I'm like, really? I said, well, I mean, Gerald, you know, I don't know if I'd have done that. I mean, did you check with the store and everything to make sure, you know, you went and you paid? And he said, hell no, it's free. And, and I said, man, I don't know. Next thing you know, I went up there to put gas in my car. And guess what was on the window? Because you go up to a little window and pay, you know, you wait in line for like 30 people. And they're always jerking around. It just takes forever to get to that little window with that person in that booth. And 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 when I get up there, you know, they've always got garbage piled everywhere, inside and outside of that window, all hanging in the window, and you can barely see the person's face. They got so much trash they're trying to sell you. And so there's a Xerox copy on the window, and it's of somebody at the fuel pump with the truck. And it says, if you see this person, call the sheriffs. And guess who that person was? My brother-in-law. So I was like, oh hell. So I didn't say nothing, and I didn't call him or anything. I had a prepaid phone then, and it cost like by the minute. It was like a track phone. It cost by the minute, and that was right before I switched to T-Mobile because that was like the newest, biggest service. And so, uh, when I went home, the phone rings. Just about an hour after I got home. I'm like, God. And it looked at the caller ID. Sure as hell, it was Gerald. And I said, well, hello. And he's like, God damn it, you can't believe it. And I'm like, what? And and he's like pissed off. He's going on and on and on. And he goes, Red, he said, the freaking goddamn sheriffs come over here and da 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 da. And they said that I stole gas and I didn't steal goddamn FMF thing. And I'm like, oh. And he says, he's going on and on with his rant. And he's carrying on, how everybody's so wrong. And here's a guy that's a millionaire, okay? And so he's like, that what they did was that sheriffs, told him that he needed to drive back over to that gas station and take care of his bill. And God, was he pissed. And otherwise they were going to arrest him. And so he's very lucky because that's a very country thing to do. The world has changed. It's not usually like that. It's usually they arrest you first, throw you in jail, and then you go to court and figure out what's wrong. So he was very lucky. But yeah, it did hit the papers too. That was really bad. So they escorted him over, and which was only, oh God, it was like 2 minutes from his house. At the Walmart gas station, and in Dothan, Alabama. And so he went over there and he paid him, and he was cussing and carrying on, blah, 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 all pissed off. I don't know what all this is so important for, and this is just ridiculous, and all this kind of stuff. Well, he got gallons and gallons of fuel, and that dually truck that was diesel. This wasn't like 1.5 gallons. We're talking like the fill up. You know what I mean? And he's like, it's not my fault. That somebody paid for the gas and didn't get it, so I got it first. That's not how it went. Some gas stations, and I know some right now. The one in Destin Walmart, you can go up there and pump fuel without paying first. If you can believe that, because all the gas stations changed years ago where you couldn't just pump your fuel and then go in and pay. There was so much theft. But if you ever steal gas, there's many states that if they catch you on camera, catch your tag, they revoke your driver's license. They don't even contact you first. They just revoke it. So you got to be very, very careful. Don't steal gas. But yeah, so anyway, he went down there, he paid it, and that was it. And so, it's pretty weird when like you're going to get fuel and all of a sudden you see a picture of your brother-in-law, what looks like your brother-in-law in a really bad video. And it says, if you see this person, they stole gas. So he calls me later. And he's like, so goddamn it, this is what happened. And da-da-da-da. And they're real crap. And they treat you like crap. And that gas was free. And da-da-da-da-da. He went on and on and on and on and on. And then I said, well, I don't know. Because if you contested it, then he would go crazy. And I said, oh, well, did you pay it? Yeah. Well, that's great. So that's over. So anything else? How's your day there? And the goddamn blah, 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 and he kept going on and on. I said, well, Gerald, I said, when I went to the gas station, they had a Xerox taped on the window there where you pay, and it looked like your truck and you at the gas pump, and it said right on there, if you see this person, they stole this gas. I said, so they had you on video And then he was really mad. And it's like, dude, I don't want my picture on the cover of the Rolling Stone for some stuff. You know what I mean? So I try to lead a good life. And that was just so funny. So funny. I never forget. He was so mad about that. He was mad at them, and he's the one that stole the stuff. He used to come in my shop and, can I have this? Can I have this? And this guy is a millionaire. He had the money. Ex real estate broker. Can I have this? Can I have this? I used to get so sick of that begging. Because he never gave me anything. Well, he gave me, what did he give me? He gave me a package of Xerox paper once. Yeah, that I needed for my daughter's school. Uh, and then he took us out to eat a few times on the holiday because he was alone. And he calls up on Thanksgiving when I was going through my divorce. And he'd say, what are you and the baby doing? And I'd say, well, nothing. And he said, well, I can come pick you up, or you can come up here and we'll go eat at the buffet place. It's on me. And I'd say, wow, that's really great. So, we'd meet him and everything. We'd go have, really great lunch and stuff. And then he would do weird stuff. You ever been with people that steal stuff off the table? Man, I have had people I've known in my lifetime. They go and they steal stuff off the table. And it's stupid stuff like they don't even need it. And they steal it. And it's like, man, I hope they don't freaking handcuff us all as we're leaving or a week later because of so and so stole stuff. So anyway, Gerald had come back to the table and he had like 15 pork chops on a plate. And then he came back later with like 10 of the little steaks there. It was like a Ryan's buffet or something. It's since closed years ago. And he has this stuff and I'm like, God, is he gonna eat all this? And he kept going back getting other plates of other food and stuff. And then he got like a whole plate of biscuits, like 9 biscuits and all that. And it's like, so next thing we go to the loo and we come back and, most of the plates are gone. And then we go outside and then we're talking. And he had one of the 2 little dogs he has out in the truck. And he had the windows, half down. And they were little short dogs. They were kind of like little Scotties or something. And the other one was at the house. And so then he reaches in his jacket pocket and he pulls out like a biscuit and gives it to the puppy dog. And I'm like, Gerald, I mean, did you buy that? And he goes, no. He said, you don't understand how they do the food here? He said, it's buffet. He said, anything that leaves that buffet table and comes to a table, they have to throw it in the trash. So it's better it's not wasted. I was like, but I mean, you're not supposed to, take the food with you. They don't let you take any to go because they didn't do it back then. Now they do it because, there's DoorDash and all that other stuff. But yeah, that was a strict rule. You couldn't take a to go plate from a buffet place. It was for years. They made you stop that because people will go in and they pay low price for buffet. And they pile a bunch of junk on their plate, and then they say, okay, I need a to-go plate now. And then they pile all that stuff in the to-go thing, and then go home, and they got a couple of extra meals, So that's why they stopped it. It was like nothing's to go. Only pick up what you need to eat. And and then the next thing I know, that he's like, well, come on by the house, and I got something for the baby, and da-da-da-da. And we go by there, and God, he had the steaks, the pork chop, all this stuff. And I'm like, Gerald. And he's like, hey, like I told you before, once it goes to the table, they got to throw it in the trash. And I'm like, oh, Jesus. So, every time we'd go out, I'd watch him because I would tell him, don't do that. Don't do that. Because I didn't want to be involved in some illegal crap, And all you have to do is be there and be an accessory. That's what they'll call you, accessory. No, not me, not today. So anyway, then he called me up, about 6 months later, and he said, oh damn it, I think somebody used my credit card and I got all these charges. I don't know where they come from. Blah blah blah. And I said, I mean, well, I mean, I would just report it to the card company. But the problem is they'll stop your account and you're not gonna be able to use it until they send you a new card. And he's like, well, that just pissed me off. And blah, blah, blah. And I mean, he had like all gold cards, okay. And so, um, he said, I got all these charges from Ryan's and I don't remember all them, you know, and that makes me mad. You know, and he said, I go there and it only cost me such and such because I get the senior citizen meal. And I got these charges for like $30 and stuff. And I said, well, then that probably means there was more than one person with you. And he's like, well, you know, it's this date and this date and this date. And, you know, I'll be damned. And they're ripping me off and I'm not paying it. And da-da. And it turned out it was charges when he took my daughter and I out on Thanksgiving, you know, Christmas, New Year's. You know, that's how it was easily identified because it was on the holidays. It was like, don't you remember when, you know, you called us and said, hey, I want to take you out? And he's like, oh yeah. He said, well, I'm just going to report it to the credit card company anyway. So now he's reporting this stuff to the credit card company, and this was a repeated ritual with him. He would charge stuff, then he'd turn around and report to the credit card company, and say, you know, I didn't charge that. And so that was like a huge savings for him. He just considered that his personal discount. Sort of like that free gas. He's so funny. I've never seen anybody like that. I mean, people that have money and they do, you know, cheapo things. It is just hard to believe people do that. But yeah, they'll do it. By God, they'll do it. Yeah. I mean, yeah, he did end up going to jail one time. That was really weird. He was mad as hell about that. And the lawyer just was mad at him about it. A guy that worked for him ended up going to jail over him, and he was illegal alien. That was really bad. That little Mexican guy used to pay to do concrete work and all that, you know, kind of like the 10 cents on the dollar deal. I got so mad at him. I go over there, and he had all this concrete, this big slab that this Mexican guy poured, and he really did a beautiful job. And he's like, yeah, I got that right there. And this is when concrete just went up really high. And he's like, yeah, got that right there. Well, I only had to pay Julio $25 for that, you know. And I love old Julio. And I'm like, you don't love him if you're paying him $25. You know, dude's got like 7 little babies, a really nice wife, and he's a hard worker. He's like dig holes. He'd dig all the way to China and without being mad at you, you know what I mean? I was saying, you're paying him pennies, Gerald. That's not even nice. I said, that's not even freaking minimum wage for 2 hours, you know? And he's like, oh, that's what he takes. I give him what I give him. And I'm like, man, he was so bad like that. Oh, my God. Just amazing. But yeah, that other story is really incredible. That when that Julio, when he used to call him Julio all the time, I said, why do you call him Julio? Because that's not his name. And he said, well, that's what I call him, Julio, you know? And I say it's still not his name. I don't know why you call him that. And so yeah, the other story is really a crack up. Oh my gosh, that thing is too funny. But I gotta run out to the car real quick. They back. Funny people. Old Gerald, he was a character. But I knew he was going to roll out. He was, you know, really actually quite elderly. He'd been around for a bazillion years. And he was my husband's brother. And he didn't drink or anything like that. He just became a addict of painkillers because of back problems. And unfortunately, he just couldn't get off of them. And that's what the biggest problem was. My husband used to say that all the time. Oh, he is a drug addict. I'm like, you just shut up. But actually, he kind of was.
Um, he had me drive him to go pick up some stuff one day in my car to go by one doctor to, and that was another good story, to go by one doctor to get a little package of 4 pills of really strong painkiller because that's all they would give you. Yeah, that's how bad it got. There's a ton of people that drive through the office building. If I go out there, I see them, and they always wave to me, and I wave back. They're funny characters. But yeah. So let's see. Oh, here's one that he got slammed for, and that hit the newspaper. Now remember, this guy's deceased now, so I'm not like talking poop. But he had taken and he had this, you know, he and my husband had maintenance chemicals for their hearts and all that other stuff. But my husband was worse. But he made it that way. He continued to drink probably till the day he rolled out because he just passed away recently. But I left him years ago and barely escaped. It was like something out of a really bad movie. Everything included. Anything you can think of, it happened. Except I never got put in jail. They tried that too. But anyway, so, and I didn't do anything. All I did was go, you don't need me. You're a meat eater, and I don't want to die from AIDS. I have a kid. So, bye bye. But anyway, and I loved him more than the world. I really did. But we found out a lot of stuff as the years progressed. It was more than what I actually knew. It was not good. My daughter's claiming today, my youngest daughter is claiming today that he sexually abused her, and that was back when she was like 6. And if that's true, which we know other people he did,
We found that out in the end, and that was another reason I left him. And he had done it for years to the same girls, and um, they were messed up for life. But yeah, he was a jerk. But anyway, so um, they used to have, those. Yeah, have you ever seen old people? They have the little plastic box with the ABCD, or they have the numbers on them, like the days of the month or something. They'll either have a 30-day box, or they have a 15-day box, or they have a week box, or something like that. And they do that so they can remember. They take all their pills out and they put them in those little slots. It's like what you keep, you know. Um, if you go to Harbor Freight and you buy a plastic box of washers and they're all different sizes, it's like that. And so they put the stuff in the little slots, and then that's how they take their medicine. The problem is that they have a law where the medicine needs to stay in the bottle with the label of who it's prescribed to. So, like, if you take that in your car and you get pulled over and they, go through your car or whatever, then it's illegal because you've taken it out of the bottles. And, I had told Gerald, I said, that's a great idea, but you should just like use a piece of paper and write it down. Like, I'm rarely sick in my whole life, except for like this last 2 years. I've had a lot of problems and can't afford doctors. So, I will write it down, you know, every hour to make sure, or however you got to take the stuff or whatever. I write it on a piece of paper. So I make sure I don't double dose or something. And I also might do it to, record it because I'm not going to take it out of the bottle. Just like if I didn't want to take a whole bottle in my pocketbook, because it's too big or whatever, I'm still not going to put it in a container. Okay. And so I had all this stuff, and I said, Gerald, be careful with that because, you're really not supposed to take it out of the label bottle. If you ever get caught with it, they're going to get you. Oh, hell no, they won't do that. Bull. And he used to get all mad. And so then he came to my shop one day, came down to visit and everything, and offered to take us to lunch. And my little girl and I, and he had this big long metal thing hanging off his key ring. And it was like a metal tube that unscrews. And he said, "Look at this." And I said, "So what's that for? Like if somebody tries to jump you, you hit them with it or something?" And he goes, "No." And I mean, it was like 5 or 6 inches long metal tube thing with screw thing, on the end. And it was blue. I remember that. And he opened it up and he had pills in there. And he said, "That way I can carry it with me and I don't carry the box, nothing." And I said, "Gerald, you can't do that. It's illegal." He said, "Well, oh damn, it's prescribed to me and that's what it is. And they can investigate that and show the proof." I said, "No, it's like on the spot. That's really dangerous. And what if you were to lose it and a kid picked it up off the ground thinking it's candies and eats it and dies? Then you'd be in for a murder charge. It's just not safe." And I said, "Keep it in the bottle. Bring the bottle with you. Stick it in the glove box, whatever it takes, and just write the stuff down when you take it, if you can't remember or something, um, you know." And so uh, he, I don't know if he lost it. No, he claimed he lost it. He had given it to Julio, the guy that was the illegal alien that used to do everything that he'd call him over there for. If it was singing sheetrock or pouring concrete or building something or helping him clean something, he called Julio. And so uh he I can't remember how it went. If he dropped it in his car or I think that's what happened. I think it came off the key ring and fell in the guy's car. And then the guy got stopped. And they said he had drugs. And this is high drugs. This is what do they call that stuff that morphine that they give you for back, extreme pain. Gerald, had to have that, and uh, uh, I mean, the only good thing about the morphine was it calmed him down because it was really horrible when he was all worked up about some crap. But when he did take that stuff, he was kind of smooth. And but anyway, so uh, the guy gets busted with, Gerald's tube of, you know, high risk chemicals in it, morphine, whatever it was in there. And so that was it had like, um, almost looked like a mini flashlight, and it had like, probably 14 pills in the tube. And so, uh, the guy gets arrested. He's an alien. They're talking about shipping him back and all this. And Gerald calls me up and goes, "Geez, gee whiz, they got Julio for drugs." And I'm like, "Oh my gosh, I can't imagine that. He's such a great guy, upstanding guy." Now I speak Spanish, so I always used to talk to Julio when I'd see him over there working for Gerald, and we would talk back and forth even with Gerald right there because Gerald couldn't understand Spanish. And that's a lot of the reason why I used to hound Gerald by giving him more money, and because he wasn't being fair to him, and so I used to talk who so-called Julio a lot, but I called him by his name. I didn't call him Julio, and I thought that was very mean. And so anyway, I said, "Well, you're going to go down there and bail him out, and you know, uh, um, you know, go tell him that that was your tube, of your stuff." "Well, I don't know if I'm going to get involved." And I said, "That's just wrong." And so, then he went down to go talk to. He was real good friends with Terry Bullard, the big lawyer in Alabama, and so he went down to, he used to go down to Terry's all the time to get free coffee. He's a millionaire. He used to do this crap all the time. Whatever's free, he's getting it. He used to even go to the Waffle House and cuss the waitresses out if they charged him for coffee. Because he said, "Don't charge me. I'll just tip you." And he would give them hell. And I said, "Man, how would you like it if it was your restaurant? They're not out giving free food. Pay for your food and then tip the girl. You don't tell them, just slide me some coffee for the next 3 hours while I'm talking to everybody in the whole joint. And then, tell them you're going to tip them good. That's cold, man. You get somebody to lose their job." And so, anyway, it was a big mess. God, it was just horrible. They were going to ship him back. And I can't remember if they actually shipped him back or how that went. But Gerald did not want to go in and tell them that was his medication. And, he was like, just kind of let sleeping dogs lie or kind of something. Hey, why worry about it? It's just more stuff. But I was really offended with it because this guy was a sweetheart and he was just trying to make for his family and send money home. And Gerald was paying him ridiculous, cheapo amounts to do things. It's like that slab. That slab at that time would have cost him, $300 to $400 to put that slab down, $7. And that was just so pitiful. And so anyway, uh, then later he got all mad. And he called me one day and he says, "I'm so damn pissed and MF this and da da da." And he rant and rave for about 5 minutes before I could get a word in. And I'm like, "What's the matter?" And he said that, he went to this doctor and he refused to give him his pain medication for his back. And I thought about what, my husband had said he's an addict to painkillers. And, I never believed it. And I said, "Well, are you abusing it? Are you acting like you lost the stuff? You need more? Because now those are restricted chemicals. And the doctors are liable. They watch the scripts they write and stuff. They can't just write scripts freely because people will take them and sell them." He said, "God damn it, I'm not selling them." He said, "I take them. And they should this and they should that." And I'm like, "Well, I'm just telling you what the law is. Okay." I said, if you get off that stuff, it'd be so much better. Go take surgery or whatever it is you need to get back, because you're going to get addicted to it and you'll never like see daylight. You just be an addict and you'll always be in pain because you got to have them. And it's sort of like shooting heroin. It's about the same effect. It's a really strong chemical when you get up that high in the painkillers. And so he got all pissed off. Well, then, um, several months go by. And then the next one, he's in jail. And what had happened was, well, right before that, he called me. He said, "Hey, can you give me a ride? Here's a guy that's got 10 dualies in the yard. You know what I mean?" And I'm like, "Give you a ride." So I had to drive all the way from Florida State Line from my shop all the way up there, and it's like a 40-minute drive to give him a ride to somewhere for some reason. I thought, well, he just can't drive. He's not feeling good, whatever. So, I pull up my caddy and we talk for out. It always takes like, forever to accomplish something. You think, well, you just go up there, give him a ride and be done. No, it's going to be an hour and a half before, he's ready to leave the house. And talk about this, talk about that, talk about this. And then, you can get him in the car. And then you have to argue with him because he wants to bring a gun with him. That's the next one. And it's like, I don't want any guns in the car. I have a child in the car. We don't need a gun to go, to your doctor. It's a bright, sunshiny day. It's fine. Nothing's going to happen. And that he was really intent on always bringing a gun. And he got in trouble for that too. So, I took him up to this nice medical building. And he ran in there. He was back out in about 20 minutes. And he said, "See, I got some, but this is all they'd give me." And it was like a little Ziploc baggie. And it had like, 4 or 5 pills of this like morphine or whatever. And real strong painkiller. And I said, "Why are they giving that to you in a Ziploc baggie? I mean, even if it's samples, it's supposed to be in a sample package. They're not supposed to be giving you like loose drugs at a doctor's office. And it should be in a bottle, or go down to the pharmacy and they'll dispense 4 pills in a bottle. They will." He's like, "Well, that's just what they do, and that's all he would give me. Damn it, he's a jerk, and he's a this and he's a that." So after a few months go by, that scared me, because driving in my car and somebody's got a baggie of high chemicals. My kid's in the back seat in the car seat, right? I was like, man, people's crap. I'm in the wrong place at the wrong time. But anyway, if I'd have got stopped, it'd have been a problem. So anyway, a few months go by, and he calls me up. He's mad as hell, and he's going on and on and on. And I have to go through like an hour dissertation before I can find out what's going on or say anything. And he's carrying on, cussing back and forth, just mad as hell, yelling and everything. And I'm like, I'm doing something. I'm working. I'm like packing orders up to take them out to the post office. I'm sewing or whatever. I'm doing something. And he's going on and on and on. So then, bottom line is, well, they arrested him. Okay. And the reason they arrested him, well, because he decided that if he went to another doctor, then he could get his pain medication prescription, because the other doctor shut him off. So he did that. Then he decided, just in case, he better go to another doctor, in case that doctor falls through, and then, go get a prescription over there. And then I don't know how many doctors he had lined up, and he was getting bottles of that stuff, and he just stashed it at the house because he was afraid he'd run out, And he wasn't selling it or anything. He just was afraid he'd run out, and that they'd shut him off complete, and he just didn't think he could live his life, in pain. And so that's why they put him in jail, because he was going and getting prescription, going to all these different doctors. Well, that they investigated, and one of the doctors called the other doctor, and when they floated the records over to the next doctor office. Then, the two doctors were talking on the phone. And the one doctor's going, look, I cut him off because I think he's becoming addicted, you know. And so, he won't do this and he won't do that and da da. So I just restricted him. And so the other doctor goes, well, I just prescribed, a big bottle of them for him. And he's like, well, you do what you want to do, but I'm kind of done. And so he was bouncing with all these different doctors all at the same time every month, picking up painkillers, extreme, that, well, I forget what you call them. It's not like high clearance. It's like they're high risk painkillers or whatever, the ones you got to put your driver's license out for. Um, so he got slammed because he was doing that. So, they had made a law where, now doctors couldn't overprescribe or prescribe unless they investigated the previous doctor's records, because people would go around that sold drugs. They would just go to the emergency room and they go to doctors and go, I need a painkiller. And they would prescribe it real loosely. And then these people turn around and make bank, not pay the medical bill for going. And they would turn around and sell these pills, like $14-20 each on the street. And they make out like bacon. And so now you have a bunch of, extreme painkillers all over the streets, and things are happening. People are getting car wrecks, and kids are taking them like because they think they're candy and they're dying, and all kinds of crazy stuff going on. So, he was so mad about that. So then they slammed all his chemicals. He couldn't get a painkiller for his life. They never went into his house though. They never went into his house to find him. And because I remember he showed me one day, and he had 25 bottles kind of by the front door in this thing. And I was like, Gerald, man, that's dangerous to have that many chemicals, and if somebody broke into your house and stole them or sold them, or you'd be in trouble because the bottle's now going with your name on it somewhere else, and they're going to come looking for you, I mean, which he did have some problems like that from people he paid pennies to work and like go through his stuff when he go to the bathroom or something, he had problems because he would call me and say, oh, this one stole that, and this one stole that, and I didn't know what to believe, but yeah, oh God, he was a character. He was always chumping pennies, started doing it right, paying his way when he was a millionaire, and it come back to get him. The best one was one day I picked him up, and he was like, the world's going to be, in a giant war. And I'm like, well, I don't know. I mean, I heard that when I was a kid, and I said, so I'm like grown up now, and so far as it really happened. And so I'm trying not to worry about it because it's not in my backyard. I'm just going to keep on keeping on, right?
Yeah, I was thinking his name would be on it, or unless he took it off. Yeah. And so anyway, he says, let's go to have lunch or go down to Harbor Freight or something, and we'll just ride in your car. So I said, okay. So, baby and I go out, and we get in the car, and we're waiting on Gerald to lock all the locks and turn all the alarms on and all this other crap. And so he finally gets to the car, and he's Gerald was real dirty all the time. And because he was too cheap to put a water heater in his house, and the 20 years I knew him, he never had a water heater. Okay. And, the bathrooms were always real dirty. He wouldn't even flush the toilet. It was scary. If you had to go to the bathroom there, it was really scary. For my daughter and I, we used to talk about it all the time, because you could barely make it into the bathroom. And the first thing you did was flush the loo and then try to find some kind of chemical to spray all over it, because it was just disgusting. And he would not, use water because he claimed he saved money, so it was really bad. And then, he never took a bath, because I thought, God, it must be horrible taking an ice cold bath. And I mean, in his house, one of the bathrooms had a big giant, garden tub thing. And it was like, God, that is so nice. He'd never used it. He stuck books in it and stuff like that. The other bathroom had a shower in it,
it looked like it hadn't seen a drop of water in forever. We were like, I don't think he ever takes a bath. And so, anyway, so he was fairly dirty. He looked like a farmer. And originally was that when he was a kid. He grew up as a farmer. And then went into real estate brokerage in Chicago. And so, anyway, he jumps in my caddy, looking like a farmer. And then he throws this huge piece in the floor of my car before he gets in. I said, whoa, 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 why are you throwing that down in the floor of my car? That's not loaded, is it? He said, well, sure. I said, Gerald, I said, I have a kid in the car. I said, you throw that in the floor, it might go off. We don't need it. Oh, well, you never know. The world's going to come to an end. There's going to be a big war. I am always going to have a gun on me. I'm like, I don't like the gun in my car. Really, I don't. And so then, when we were getting ready to go into the place, he had a thing for his leg.
I would have just waited.
He had a thing for his leg, like out of the old, westerns. It was like a leather belt thing, and then the strap went down midway on his leg to his thigh, and then had another buckle strap like a belt around his leg, and then he slid the gun into the holster kind of thing. And he used to wear a t-shirt, always wore a t-shirt. If it was 200 degrees, he wore a t-shirt and a dress shirt over the top. Okay. And the dress shirt, would either be long sleeve or short sleeve, depending on what season it was. And so he would get ready to go in a store or whatever, and he would put that gun in the holster and all that. I'm so, Gerald, you can't go in the store with that. And he goes, goddamn straight I can. You never know. I said, are you carrying like 4,000 cash on you or what? It's me and the baby and you. There's people. It's like usually they'll jump you if you're by yourself. And I said, and it's daylight, man. It's not that dangerous. I go all around the town all the time. I don't have that problem. I drive a Cadillac. And he's like, oh, you never know. And then, he would put that thing on and it would be like falling down, and he would like button one button on his shirt, because I said, you can't just walk in the store with a gun like that. So he would like button one or two buttons or something, and he's like, well, it's the law or something. And I'm like, well, I'm embarrassed to walk with you, because, you got a really big piece on you. This was like, like cowboys and Indians gun. You know what I mean? Like they're going to do a shootout. Why? And he was having so much trouble with that holster thing. It was like falling down and stuff. And I'm like, he's going to drop this gun in public and scare people, and it's going to go off. Just stupid shit. And so, it was really exciting when we, took him home. We were done. He took us out to lunch somewhere, and we had to go down Harbor Freight. And that was even weird because he would steal stuff. He would pocket things. He'd go in there to buy 3 or 4 items, get his big discount. And then, as he was going down the aisles, there was something he saw he needed, and he'd stick it in his pockets. And it was like, man, this guy's a millionaire. And I caught him doing it one time. I said, why are you doing that? It was like a $2 item and stuff, and all that. And he's like, well, hell. He said it don't cost him but 10 cents to ship it from China and all that. And he said, and, I shop here all the time. They should be proud to have my business. And I'm like, you're not supposed to steal, man. They end up banning him out of Harbor Freight. Lowe's did it too. Home Depot did it. Everywhere he went, he was like hijacking crap, it turned out. And then he called me and screaming about it. Well, God damn it. I said, stop doing it. It's only $2. You have money. Just pay him. Well, it ain't nothing. I bought all this other stuff. I spent $200 with him that day. It's not hurting him for a $3, thing. And it was like, ugh. So then he ends up in jail again. And here's the next one. It was a good thing Terry Bullard was his so-called good friend, and I'm not quite sure how that was going anyway. Because I can't imagine how, like, you're How can you afford to pay a lawyer to go see him every day and whine about whatever bullcrap? And is he really handling that stuff every day, or what was the exchange there exactly? Because Gerald was cheap, you know. If anything was going to cost him, he wasn't going to go. You know what I mean? So I don't know what was exactly behind that, but you know, it was like Terry was his go-to.
He was probably banned from any Harbor Freight location.
Maybe. I mean, it was just got really bad. My nephew come over and I said, he told me that he had got that. He said, well, Uncle Gerald got banned from Lowe's, and I'm like, really? Why? And he said, because he's stealing. And I said, like what? And he goes, stupid crap. Like a little flashlight, or a screwdriver or something. He'd go down there and he'd buy $400 worth of wood, and he'd go steal some little thing. And I said, yeah, he did that with me, when we went to Harbor Freight, and they banned him out of there because they kept catching him. And he was all mad about that. And he would still go back. He just wasn't using his account number. He paid regular price, but he would still go back. I don't know if he's still stealing or whatever, because every time he'd ask me to go with him, I'm like, I'd be at the other side of the store. I didn't even, a lot of times I wouldn't even go in with him, and because I didn't want to be an associate or whatever they call it. So anyway, he decided to go up to Walmart one day, threw the doggy in the truck and drove 2 blocks over to the Walmart, and went into the fishing and sport department, and he knew the old dude that worked over there, and he always liked talking to him for half hour. And so they were talking and everything, and he said, the world's getting damn dangerous. And the guy says, yeah, you're right about that. You never know when the next world war is coming, and it could be soon. And these guys really had a lot of conversation. So during the conversation, Gerald unbuttons his shirt, pulls his shirt open to the side, and he's standing there talking to this dude at the cash register, right, at Walmart, in the fishing and gun department, right? And he says, see, he says, I got my protection, and the guy goes, wow, cool, yeah. Well, then it all went downhill from there. Next thing you know, he was in the jail. And he didn't call me because he wouldn't be able to remember the number, because he had all the numbers written up on the wall, And he didn't like car phones. He had one or two, he just never used them. So anyway, and I don't hear from him for several days, and I'm like, geez, I wonder if he died or he's in the local hospital, or because I'm surprised that he hasn't called by now. It's been over 24 hours, and called complaining about something or other that I'm supposed to solve or whatever.
And so
3 or 4 days go by. I don't hear nothing from anybody, So it was kind of nice and peaceful, actually. And then next thing you know, the phone rings, and the caller ID, Gerald. And I went, oh, here it goes. So now he's about and he's going on and on and on. And I said, what is wrong? He said, I was in the goddamn jail. Dothan, Alabama. And I'm like, huh? And he's like, blah, 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 blah. I'm not following nothing. I don't get it. And he's just carrying on and screaming and mad as hell, cussing. And I don't get it. And so he takes him, and I said, well, I mean, why would they put you in jail? I mean, you're acting like they had no right, and this, I don't understand. Why did they put you? Tell me why they put you in jail. What was the reason? I mean, was it tax evasion, or what have you done? Were you driving? Did you get in a wreck? Were you, did you take a drink or something? Finally it burns down to, I wasn't doing the goddamn thing. All I did was go to Walmart. And I'm like, so why would they put you in jail for going to Walmart? And he's like, well, goddamn it, I was just standing there talking to my friend. They put me in a goddamn jail. Dude, I'm like, so why would they put you in jail for talking to your friend? Well, he's so-and-so, and he works over there in the sports department, and I know him from, his son worked over here, and that, you know how farmers talk. They got to go on and on and on. And you never get to the answer. You know what I mean? It's like, evade the answer. Me, I just want yes, no, and the facts. That's all I want. So anyway, he's still carrying on. I said, well, Joe, I don't understand why Walmart would put you in jail, like, unless you stole something. Uh, and then we'll get you for a 99-cent bottle of nail polish. Trust me. I know somebody went to jail for that years ago. Um, and they had kind of the same attitude. Walmart couldn't afford it. It's only 99-cent bottle of nail polish. It wasn't like a stereo. And they actually went to jail for it. Um, so I'm like, did you steal anything? No. I'm saying, well, I still don't get it. You can't go to jail for going to Walmart. You can't go to jail for going to Walmart, not stealing anything. And you can't go to jail for talking to your friend in the sports department, okay? That you've known for, 20 years and known all his family members and his cousins and his brothers and the United States president. I mean, that's just not hearing, seeing it. And he says, well, we were talking and everything, and he agrees. He agrees that the world's going to come to an end. Blah, 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 blah. And he says, and all I did was show him my gun. I said, so like, you were not carrying that big piece, were you? With like this holster outside of your pants kind of thing that goes down your leg and all that stuff. With the other belt strap on it, like something out the Wild Wild West. And he's like, well, hold on a minute. And I said, why did you go into Walmart with that? And he said, well, I had my dress shirt on. And I said, but how did the guy see the gun? Well, because I, unbuttoned the buttons and I just kind of pulled it to the side and showed him. And said, yeah, I'm protected, I said, you did that in the middle of a Walmart? By a cash register? Well, yeah, so what difference does it make? I said, well, because it looks like you're robbing the store. You don't get that the part where they've got like video cameras and they got like the little red button under the counter and stuff like that. Like, maybe the other employees can't hear the conversation, but when they see a guy pull his shirt to the side and there's, a gun on it kind of appears that they're being robbed, I mean, it doesn't look good. And so that's what happened. And that was another freaking problem. They put him in jail for a day or two. They picked him in court. And he was like, God, all I was doing was talking to my friend. He just couldn't get it through his head, that it's not appropriate. It's not the wild, wild west here, where you go into a bar and you take your gun and lay it down on the counter and go, hey, give me a shot. Yeah. Well, that they've always had those. I worked at 7-Eleven when I was a kid, when I left home. And they had that little red button thing that didn't protect you, didn't stop you from a bullet. But they had a reward system. It was like $700 or $900 if you got robbed while working. That was the incentive. They were like, don't worry if you ever get robbed, because he used to get robbed all the time. If you ever get robbed, they give you an incentive, a reward. I'm like, huh? Like if you're alive to collect it. And it was like $700 or $900. And I said, well, I'm sitting there thinking like, well, how many people do you know that are going to call their best friends and go, hey, come down here and rob me so I can get $700 or $900? Because that was like 3 months rent back then, This could be a business. But yeah, they've had those things for a lot of years, and there's a lot of places still have that. They just push that button. Walmart, I know one Walmart, somebody was showing me something. They said, all we have to do is like pick up the phone and hang it up or something. That was like another alert. At Panda Express, if they were going to get robbed, all they had to do was push this one key on the cash register before they pushed any of the other keys, and it immediately called the police department. I remember that when I worked at Panda for a couple months out at Valparaiso in Florida. And that was kind of impressive. But yeah, they arrested him because he showed his buddy the gun while they were conversing in the Walmart while the guy was at work in the sports department. Because Gerald was trying to prove the point that, hey, I'm protected. He was like, see, I'm protected. I wouldn't go out anywhere without, my gun. But it doesn't look like that, And how many people do you know go into Walmart and got a gun like that? How many do you know that show the gun to people? and in casual conversation go, hey, I got my piece. You'd scare every little kid in that store. If they saw that, that would freak them out. I mean, you would scare people. That, I mean, it just is not appropriate. And but he's old country, old farmer from way back, and lived in Chicago, which was very dangerous, and was a real estate broker there, and then left and moved back south towards the rest of his brothers and stuff, and his mom, and he just thought it was a cool thing to do. Yeah. So yeah, wild, huh? Totally wild. But thanks for the thumbs up, you guys. But yeah, the funny things that would happen. Again, this guy is, he's left a while ago. Well, actually, a couple years ago. So, like, I'm not like talking poopy dude, but somebody that's like still around because this is real true stuff. Real true stuff that was like mind blowing from a guy that's no telling how much money he had when he died. I was told by a few relatives that he was just extremely wealthy, and I knew that he was shipping money to people from the computer, because he would ask me to go with him to Walmart or whatever, and then we'd have to stand and wait at the Western Union thing because he was going to ship, like $1,000 or $2,000 or $3,000 out to this supposed girl on the internet that needed help. That her mother was dying and she got in a car wreck. One of the best ones was that the girl's baby was eaten by a wild animal, by a lion or something like that in Africa. And I'm like, Gerald, quit. I said, I don't. It just sounds bogus to me. And that was another cool story. I proved my point. I used to go to his house every time I go to his house, and he'd go, "Hey, this is my girlfriend." He'd show me some Xerox copies, and I'm like, "That doesn't even look real." Looks like some crap off the internet, and actually it was. I gotta be right back. Boy, I will never forget that day when he flopped that gun in the floor of my Cadillac with my kid in the car. And my legs were like up on the dashboard, buddy. I'm like, don't be just throwing that stuff. I mean, just threw it. Like, threw it into the floor of the car before he got in. And I'm seeing this gun, this big gun, like from Wild Wild West, go bam in the floor of the car. I was like, oh, man. And again, the thing looked just antique. Yeah, I mean, I was like, I was pissed. And he gets so cranky when you say something that he didn't agree with. And like, here's a guy that's riding in my car. He wants to ride in my car, wants me to drive. And the first thing he does is, I open the door, I leave the door open for him. He comes over and he's doing something. And then all of a sudden, bam, this thing comes flying in the car and hits the floor and scared the living piss out of me. I'm like, that sucker's not loaded. He said, well, sure it is. I'm like, why did you throw it in the floor? I mean, it could have shot my kid's foot off. It could have shot my feet off. My knees hit the freaking dashboard. And my feet were up off the floor. It scared me so bad. And I'm like, just put it away. Leave it at your house, I mean, I can't drive around with a gun laying on the floor of the car. Don't worry about it. It's my gun. But, I mean, are we going to rob people? What is going on, God, freak me out. But yeah, so I could tell you stories about stories. There's so many weird situations where I was at the, at the wrong place at the wrong time, kind of thing. Um, just things that happen in life. And you got to be so careful because, it can affect you legally. If I were to have gotten stopped, if that thing would have gone off and he'd done that in traffic or something, and killed a kid in a car next to me, or, you know, it's not the Wild Wild West, Those days are long gone. The wagons and everything are gone. Although all those guys were raised in covered wagons, um, which I didn't know till way later. I was like, oh my gosh. Yeah. So, wild, silly, and wild stuff. Silly and wild stuff. Yeah, I could have been really bad, man. But, something else. He was definitely a character. Most definitely a character. But yeah, he was so funny. But he always called me when he had problems. And as old as he was, he should have known better a lot of stuff and legal stuff. He used to call me. He called me one day about buying a car because I was in the car business and for a lot of years. And he sure didn't want to call his brother because his brother's a damn crook, which was my husband. Um, and That's about one of the dirtiest car dealers on the face of this earth. And yeah, he's gone too. So it doesn't make a difference if I see anything now. Plus, I'm not legally liable under that. The feds cleared me and everything. I'm good. But and I told him everything that I would tell you. So that's all already in the books. But but yeah, he called me one day and asked me about buying a car. And he was looking for a small car. I saved a little gas instead of driving those big trucks around all the time. He didn't go anywhere. God, he went to Walmart, a couple blocks from the house. He didn't go anywhere. He went to Waffle House at the intersection. And so he we talked for about an hour, and I said, well, I mean, if it were me, because I used to, detail and test all the cars before they went on the lot because my husband would never do that. He'd just sell garbage. He'd take it as trade in, wouldn't clean it, nothing. And some sorry sucker want to buy it. I said, you can't sell cars like that. And so, I've driven all kinds of cars and raggedy cars. And, I did a 300-point check on them. And then I would take them to the mechanic and say, I've got a problem with it doing this. I think, we need to investigate this. And before we sell it and all that kind of stuff. And so I know cars that are very problematic. And then I got a membership to where I could look up the backgrounds on the cars. If they were insurance scammed or how many times they went in the shop, what they went in the shop for, and if they were properly serviced and
if they'd been totaled and retitled and weird stuff. And the mileage didn't match the car when we got it, and it was extreme mileage. It was on the books. I mean, there was a lot of stuff you find out when you do background check on a car. And so I was paying like 45 a month for the service myself. And I would go through every single car and drive it around for a few days or a week before it went to the mechanic and before it was finished up and ready to go on the lot. And uh, I was pretty proud, of all the cars. They were really, I mean, you could drive them from California to Florida. They didn't smell like chicken or cigar. They were nice cars. And that's all I did, getting the money for it. Sell them a quality item, don't sell them some trash. And but then again, there was a lot of those poor people down there that would pay whatever just to be able to have a car. And my husband would carry the note back for a year, and nobody else would. And you didn't have to go through big credit check or all that crap. They just sell you the car because it was on the basis of he would go pick it up. But then he was doing really bad things like picking up people's cars that they were still paying on and reselling them and doing some crazy stuff. And so, which I reported him for all of that. So I don't mind telling you about it now, but it was that was one of the other bases that I went and divorced him because I didn't want to get involved with the feds going to jail over stuff that he was doing, and I never signed a document, you know, which was a good thing. Uh, I'm really glad that that's one thing I didn't learn how to do was transfer title. Yeah. So anyway, I told him, I said, well, really, I mean, for what you're kind of looking for, just to save gas and get a small car or whatever, I would just go get, and I had my banker, Chuck, he had bought one. He got rid of his truck and he bought one. He just loved the car. Said it didn't burn any gas. It drove really good. It was very nice for a small car, very luxurious. And I told him, I said, there was one car that I told him about, and then the other one was the Altima. And I said, the Altima is really, a very nice car. It's kind of pricey, but if you go get one a couple years old, just go up to one of the car dealers up there in Dothan and go pick up one that's a year or two old or whatever. Make them a deal. And so, a couple of weeks go by, and then he calls me up. He says, "Hey, I got me one of them Altimas." And I said, "Okay." And he had gone up there, test drove a brand new one. I think the first one he got was white. He ended up getting like two of them. And why, I don't know. And they still had all those trucks. And so it kind of looked like a car lot in front of his house, and he's the only one to live there. And so and plus the handicap tag thing, that was real funny too. He had a bunch of handicap tags. So he he said that he went and test drove the brand new one, and then they kept calling him, and it kind of pissed him off. I said, "Well, that's what they'll do. You don't want to give them a lot of info because they'll bug you to death." And they said, "Hell no, I'm gonna get my money's worth." And blah, blah, blah. And then what he ended up doing was the guy came to the house with the car. He said, "Can I come out to your house and talk to you, sir?" And he's like, "Whatever you want to do." And that was always kind of creepy going to Gerald's house because, he expected you there, and you were like, "I'll tell you exactly what time I'm gonna be there," and you would be there, and you'd be sitting in the yard, wait, and he didn't come out. And then, the next big trick was to traipse across all the farmland there to go to the front door of his big house. And then, you knock on the door, and then, the curtain moves, you see the shadow go through the peephole, and then it's quiet. And then you yell out, "Hey, Gerald, we're here, we're waiting on you, you want us to wait here or go back to the car?" And then the curtain opens again, and then, you hear all these locks, chunk, cha-chunk, cha-chunk, cha-chunk on the back of the door. And then, sometimes the alarm would go off. He had an alarm system there. It used to go off all the time. Sometimes the alarm would go off, or sometimes, like, he was, like, had the chains hanging and the door open 2 inches. All of a sudden, he'd go, "Wait, wait, 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 wait." And then he'd be, like, punching the buttons on the alarm thing on the wall behind the door. And then, get all the other chains and stuff off the door, and then he'd open the door and he'd go, "Hey, come on in." It's always a big thing. So anyway, I guess this young car salesman guy came out with that brand new car out to the property,
and it's like all dirt. It's old farmland, so you got to drive over like ant hills and holes and stuff, and all up in the dirt. It's like really suited well for like a Jeep, you know. And so the guy comes out and he says, we can make you a really good deal on the car. We'll go down about $1,500 on it if you really want it. And they were kind of hurting. They weren't selling cars very fast in that. It was like, I think it was like 2004, 2005, when like everything dropped, real estate dropped and everything just collapsed and all across the states. And so it was a really bad time. But, Gerald was a millionaire. So he's talking back and forth with the guy, and then he says, and he says, well, you already got all these are these all your cars, your trucks and stuff? And he's like, yeah. And he's like, well, you want to sell it? And that's like, my husband used to have to turn me go over there. He said, Joe, why don't you let me take a couple of these trucks and get rid of them for you, because you're not driving them. And they're just going to get ruined. And he was like, no, hell no. And I wouldn't do business with you. You're a piece of crap. But anyway, so next thing you know, Gerald has this brand new Altima. I said, well, I mean, are you test driving it and didn't give it back to him, or what are you doing? And he said, no, I bought it. And I said, you actually bought that car? I mean, to me, it was like he was such a Jew. I can imagine him, forking out that kind of money and surely not paying payments. He would buy it outright because he'd be mad about paying all that extra stuff, see? So he's the kind of guy that would have bought it outright, but I just couldn't imagine him dumping that kind of money. And so he's just terrible type. And so he had told me this big long story, and he had like traded one of the trucks that was really messed up, and then traded some other thing, I think a handmade trailer or something, and then offered him so much cash on the cash on the barrelhead deal, just really cheap, and skated that car like $9,000 below list, and really crazy deal. And then about 3 months later, went back and bought another one, that was blue. It's like, so now why do we still have all the trucks and we've got two brand new cars that are identical? Because he said, I really liked that first one, so I went back and bought another one. And it's like, but why? You're the only one person here, and the trucks just sit there and rot. And, you change trucks like every 4 months, and some of them don't get driven for 2 years, And then you're mad when they don't run right. So they got to run. You can't just park them. They've got to be started up. I mean, even if you have a car collection, and you got Bugattis and all this other stuff, somebody has to go out there to maintain those cars. If you're out of town or whatever, they've got to be started once a week. They've got to be driven a couple miles. It ruins them when they sit. The seals start pulling back and shrinking, and then when you start it up, it's got oil leaks dripping all down the block, and you can't figure out why it's smoking. And then you have to drive it for about a week to get everything to expand back out and seal, and the lifters to act right. And, I mean, it's just, you can't just let them sit. And yeah, I've seen rusty cars. And and then not wash them or anything. And he wouldn't use the water to take a bath. What makes you think he would wash them? So they just sit filthy damn dirty. They don't move. The brakes are rusted out because it just sits until you drive it. And then when you use the brakes a few times, then it cleans all the rust off of it. And then they break good after that. But I mean, all that stuff affects cars. You can't just let them sit. It's like houses or people. You just can't let them sit. But yeah, so now he's got two brand new cars, the blue one and the white one, or I think it was a black one and a white one or something like that. And so anyway, and then at one point he loaned the white one out. It was brand new. Terry Bullard's wife was driving the white car. This is a big time lawyer. And they had an office down by Mobile, Orange Beach. And so they used to drive back and forth like every week and stuff. And I said, so why, Terry drives a Mercedes. Why is he driving your brand new car? Well, he's my friend. And they asked if they could borrow it. And hell, they drove it for a year or two. They gave it back to him with a bad radiator. the radiator defunct on it or something. And he was pissed off about that. Well, it done broken. You thought they'd have fixed it and all that. And I said, well, I mean, what were you charging them to lease the car out? Nothing. He's my friend. He helps me out, does some favors for me. And I said, well, then you lose. You should have had agreement up front because they were driving the crap out of that car. And yeah, and it was so funny. And then I think it got wrecked at one point. I can't remember if it was the Bullard that wrecked it or not. But it got messed up at one point, and then he was pissed off about that, and he never fixed that either. It was like it still drove the same way if it had a dent or not. Um, but the reason he got the two cars, it turned out later, was these computer chicks. He was claiming they were going to be his next wife, and he was going to get them shipped over, to the United States and pay their fines, their visas, whatever, and marry them and all that. Because he originally had one wife that was Filipino, and they had, I think, two kids, John and I can't remember the name of the girl, and it was like John and Jerry or something like that. And they were all grown. When I knew him, his son, I think, was like 35. And when I first knew Gerald, and but he talked a lot of crap about his wife. She ended up passing away about the middle of the time I had known Gerald, after about 10 years or something, and she passed away from a brain tumor or something, just all of a sudden kind of thing. And that was really sad. And I finally convinced him to write, a letter to her on the computer or whatever, a handwritten letter or something. Because, I said, you can't live like that. You may totally hate somebody for a million years, but, that's the mother of your children. And she did remarry and everything, but I said, you should be polite. His kids were tired of the crap, too, because he always talked crap about her. And he finally did. He finally wrote, a couple really nice letters to her before she passed away. It was very, very quick. And so that was a good thing. But he really liked the foreign girls. If they were Russian or Filipino or whatever, that's what he liked. And because he wanted to keep them. You know what I mean? Like, they don't go out of the house. They don't go anywhere. They just cook and clean, and that's what they do, kind of thing. It wasn't like he was going to parade them around or have a big giant wedding. No. So he was lonely. He really wanted somebody. So he even offered to marry me a couple times. He's like, my brother treats you like crap, and you should marry me. And, and I was like, no. So, anyway, he was really convinced. He'd had girl after girl on the computer, be sending him money, then find out he was pissed off about him, and he called him every name in the book, and then he'd get another one. And so then he had one that was supposed to really fly over. He had paid for the tickets, everything, got the ticket number. She supposedly sent him this picture on the computer of her ticket number and flight number and all that. And she was coming, and from Russia or some crap. And he got Julio to go with him. They went out to the airport at Atlanta, Georgia. Man, that crap is like 12-hour drive. And had to leave in the middle of the night. So Julio did most of the driving. And then, they're waiting at the airport, and they spent like 11 hours at the airport, not eating nothing. Standing there waiting for, the plane to come in. And he didn't want to leave. And it was just disgusting. And I remember when he got home, he called me and told me the whole story again. He had told the girl he bought her a car, and he sent her a picture of it, on the computer. So I got you a car. We're all ready, for you to be here. We'll get married just as soon as you arrive, and everything will be great. And, you're going to be my wife, and blah, blah, blah. And the plane, was postponed, and then finally the plane came in, and this supposed girl was not on the plane. And he's like, oh, there was something wrong. And then, there would be an email like 2 days later that said, oh my God, the feds stopped me before I got on the plane. I'm so sorry. I had no way to, send you a message, and you wouldn't know anyway because you didn't have your computer with you. and he don't have a phone, you know, because he didn't carry a car phone or anything. And, you know, he was hours away in Atlanta and wasted all that gas. That was the next problem. And then he had to put money out to buy Julio a burger on the way back, you know, kind of thing. I mean, he just was all mad about all that money. And I said, Gerald, you just quit, you know. And, oh, I sent her, you know, like $15,000 in the last 3 months because she had to pay all that stuff so she could leave and pay for her visa. And I'm like, Gerald, it just doesn't even sound real. And so then I started looking stuff up. He's went from girl after girl after girl. And it's, as soon as I walk in the door, oh, I got a girlfriend. And he'd show me like 4 Xeroxes, man, of stuff printed off the computer. And he'd show me the Yahoo where he chatted with her all the time. And he'd let me read all the stuff. Go read what she said. What do you think? You know, and all that. And then I ended up contacting a few of them and telling them, you know, please don't steal from my brother-in-law. He's very lonely. He just wants a wife. And if you're not real, please don't do that to him. And you know, it was really sad. And so you know, I would go over there and then I'd start looking up the name that they used on the computer. And then it would come up and there'd be like 15 entries on there. And it'd say, this girl scammed me for thousands of dollars on Yahoo Messenger. And, you know, this is her name. And she says she's a nurse and all this stuff. And then I clicked on the picture and then I would put it, you know, on the search bar. And then that picture would come up and it would be, you know, somebody that's a veterinarian, you know, in San Diego, California or something like that. I mean, they were just heisting these pictures off the internet and sending them saying, this is me, you know. And they looked so fake. And then they'd send like 4 or 5 pictures of a blonde chick and they weren't exactly the same girl. I'm like, Gerald, that's not the same girl. That's different pictures. And, you know, and he just wouldn't listen. He just didn't believe me. And then he caught a couple of them. He said they were bogus. And that last one was the worst. And I really think that somebody that's still alive, that was my husband's girlfriend, had done all that to him because that was like the biggest going joke in the family, how Gerald had, you know, girlfriends on the computer that were fake. My husband told him one time, he said, and it pissed him off. He said, Gerald, we walked over to the house to take him out for Christmas or something. And we were all dressed up, ready to take him out. And Gerald was dressed pretty nice. I think that's before his water heater broke. And and we were getting ready to go, and he turned around. And he said, "Look here." He says he'd take all these papers off his desk, these Xeroxes, and he's handing them to my husband. And he said, "This is my new girlfriend. I'm going to marry her." And Franklin just kind of laughed. And he said, no. He said, she's, you know, like in Russia, and, you know, her family, you know, was held by the authorities, and her baby sister was killed, and, you know, she's had a rough life. She's never had a car in her life, you know, and it's like, so how does she talk to you? Oh, she's at the internet cafe. She talks on the computer from the internet cafe. It's like, you don't have an address for her or anything? No. And it's like, okay, wait a minute. And so my husband looked at him, he said, you know what? He said, brother, he said, that's a guy that's about 400 pounds, smoking a stogie, sitting at his desk at the computer, punching all that stuff in, talking to you, and just smoking up a storm. He said, that's not a real person. And he's like, oh, damn it, you're an idiot. And I don't even like you. And, you know, it was really bad. It was so bad. The best one was the last one, where her child was eaten by a wild mountain lion in Africa. That was the best one. I'm like, Gerald, that's not happening. That doesn't make sense. And I was like, they don't even have mountain lions in Africa or something like that. And I mean, I investigated the whole thing. I was like, you know, this is bullcrap. They're lying. You know, have you ever tried like calling them? And, you know, and then it was like her mom got in a really bad car wreck and was nearly dead, and she needed $3,000 so they could give the medical treatment to her mother because she's so poor. And, you know, he would go send it, you know. And I'm like, so should she ever give you your mother's name? And he said, no, but I had to send the money in her sister's name. And I said, so now the girl says her name is this, and she needs the money. You're sending the money in somebody else's name. I mean, it doesn't give you a clue. Yeah. The scams, I'm telling you, scam, 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 scam. Scam, scam, scam. Be very careful on the internet because they will jack with you. Um, my friend had an old 1965 Chevy truck. It was white, but it was white with rust. Yeah, I mean, they think those are so valuable today. We call that cancer, that rust on those cars, because it eats them up. If you don't treat them, it just eats them up. It eats holes through them. And today, people are like clear coating the rust. Why? Do you really want a rusty, raggedy old car? That's like really styling now. They call it patina. I call it rust. It's not worth crap unless you get rid of the rust and straighten it out. I'm not buying it because you think it looks cool like that. I said, oh, well, I got a lot of spam emails from those fake sites. There's something saying I ordered something off Amazon. Oh, yeah, that's a big thing now. When I didn't. Yeah, it'd be like $1,000 item. And they're like, did you authorize this transaction? Click here. And it's like, do I look stupid? When I didn't, and have before, not at the time. And some of those are pretty good. You have to look at the bottom and see what it says on the bottom, and then you have to look at the sender. And that's your next clue. It's sender. If it's like A B C D Z G H I 1 2 3 4 at bonanza.com, then you know it's fake. Sometimes it's really hard to see it, and you just report it. You to like spoof at Amazon or something like that. You forward it to that, and don't click on nothing in there, and then they can trace it because they got the feds all up in there. But there's a lot of that crap going on. It's absolutely horrible. The worst one is those stupid letters where they go, hi, and I am the queen of wasabi, and the great king has left millions of dollars, and you are a beneficiary, blah 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 blah, and they go on and on and on and on and on. Reply to this mail, and then the next one's reply to this mail with your name, your picture ID, and your social security number and your address. And the next mail comes. It says if you'll just send $1,200, you can collect this 2 million out of 5 bazillion that's just left sitting. And it's like, what? I love to jack with them. Be like, yeah, well, if it's money for me, then just send it, all right? There shouldn't be a problem. I'll give you your part after I get it, right? When they get so mad. There's a guy on YouTube that does it all the time. That talks to those phone call scammers and stuff. But apparently there's a lot of people that will actually pay them. And then they cry about, well, and they usually get elderly people. That's the sad part. My brother was here, and we were at a hotel, and he got this call, 6 o'clock at night or something like that. And the guy said, well, you owe this money, and da-da-da-da-da. And he goes, well, hold on. And he goes to his wallet, and he's going, reaching for a credit card. I said, what are you doing? And he's like, well, I got to pay this bill. And I said, well, somebody's calling you on the phone? I said, just tell them to send you a paper copy of the bill in the mail. And he's like, well, he said, if I don't pay it in such time. I said, don't give your credit card over the damn phone. You don't even know if that's for real. You think so? Surely not. I said, yeah, I'm telling you. Don't do it. Tell them to send you your paper. Don't give your credit card out to those people. I think it sounds like it's bogus. He's like, well, I don't know. I might owe it. I'm like, yeah, no. Yeah, just stupid crap. People fall for anything, And once you start giving somebody your credit card number, man, they might hijack the whole son of a gun. You have to be so careful. The few times that I've had to do it, like I've done it for my car insurance, and I know the girl, but still, it makes me nervous. They had a scam where, like a McDonald's or a drive-thru of some sort, fast food place, and the people were copying of people's credit cards. They were like taking a picture of it with their phone and then hand it back to the customer. And so everybody gave them a credit card. They photographed it, and it was massive scamming, and they finally caught them, and that's in the drive-thru. Now that is super scary, you know. But I'm not a big. I don't use credit cards in gas pumps. I don't use credit cards in drive-thrus. I probably used a credit card in drive-thru twice, and I was scared to do it then. But yeah, yep. So yeah, you have to be really, really careful. It is so pretty outside, I got to tell you. And I got some errands to do. I wish I could go to the washateria today, but can't afford it. Um, I gotta go pay my internet bill from my office today. I've got to go to market and pick up a couple things, some milk, before I run out. Um, I'm working on price changes here again. And I swear, this is just so ridiculous. I was watching Daily Refinement on YouTube yesterday, and they had all these other YouTubers that sell online, and they were like talking about, you should have 1,000 item store, and then you'd have this much sell through rate, and I'm like, you know, the problem is you're stacking up too much stock, you know, and just keep listing and listing and listing, and you're not selling, enough. To me, it's like I got 250 listings on this one that are free, and I would like to see it sell, you know, because I don't want to pay for ads on eBay. I'm so done with that from years back. I'm really done, and I'm trying to do it without getting too much cost. I've got tons to list. I wish I could just sit and list and list and list, but I'm not going to pay storefront rent like I did years ago with all my listings. You know, I mean, it wasn't bad when I was making bank on e-cigs, but the buck stops sometimes, and it did at one point. It did at one point. You never know what tomorrow has to bring. And I fought them and fought them and fought them and opened new accounts, and I mean, it just went on and on and on. And they end up slamming me just about every time because I was like, I push it to the max for that kind of money, 5K a week, hell yeah. And I mean, it was over when it was over. That was the end. Yep. If I don't see some sales really soon, I keep marking stuff down. I'm thinking, well, maybe I'm way off the market rate. I took all the shipping down to what everybody else was charging. It was ridiculous. It's like, really, I can't even afford to ship for that. But especially when they deduct off the shipping fees. But I went ahead and went for it, and it's still, I get more views, but I'm getting down to the nitty gritty now. I'm getting real close to the part where no, I'm not making any money at all. And I really need to sell stuff. I really have got to sell stuff because it's just costing me so much in storage and stuff. And when I get ready to move, I'm trying to get as much as I can knocked down to save on my storage so I can get out and about, travel the states and see if there's something I want to do. I may still do the California thing, don't know. But in the meantime, I work every day. Let's hope and I take this one down to 100. Man. But gotta sell it. Boy, they're loud in those front offices, I gotta tell you. And it's not playing music, man. They brought that up the other day. Well, we try to do it so nobody hears what's, business that's transpiring. It's like, look, I can't teach English online, and I can't YouTube with music in the background. I get in trouble for it.
Yeah, yeah. You'll hear motorcycles at time come through here. At times. There's a guy that collects motorcycles. He's got one or two um, businesses, and um, when he comes around the building, you hear him going around the building sometimes. And there's a young guy that has a motorcycle. He's so funny. He's always talking to me or waving at me. Or he'll come through here on a sand rail or something, and he go, "Hey, you want to ride?" And we'll go ride. You know, funny characters. I love people. I really do. Oh my gosh, this shoe's $100. I'm gonna throw up. Well, I just hope it sells. Let's see some sales. You know, maybe I've got everything too high. Maybe I've got to get it down somewhere to where it'll make it. Maybe I don't know. I'm just really getting close to the wire on profit here. Really close. It's not a good thing, especially after eBay takes their cut out of it, which would be about 20, $30. It's just gonna bite. But I got to get it, so I got to reduce. I mean, if I could just mark everything down to a point and then it just all starts flying, that's great too. Maybe that's what it has to come to. I don't know. I'm kind of thinking the market is just horrendous. I think eBay's grown so much and there's so many sellers, you know, and there's a huge amount of buyers, but and like whoever sees your ad first, I don't know. It's not like it used to be. That's for sure. It's nowhere near the e-cig thing. That's so sad. I'm so sad. Boy, those are the days. The money, wow, incredible money. I used to love ordering all that stuff and everything. It was so much fun. It really was. I had it all classed up. It was pretty neat. Pretty darn neat. A really, really good product. But, you know, surfed that wave for a minute. Anyway, it was good while it lasted, that's for sure. I mean, I didn't take any losses, that's for sure. You know, I was very careful of how much stock I kept. That's why I ordered a lot. You know, I had many small orders because I didn't want to get overrun with it and get stuck with it if all of a sudden it was outlawed, which I was right. So it worked out good. Oh my god, tired. I got some sleep last night because I left early, but and that was strange for me to leave early. I usually stay till I'm too tired, and then I leave and go to 99. But um, he left early. Well, it's getting hotter now anyway, so I really need to be going to sleep earlier. You know, it's a really safer way to go, I guess. But yeah, well, I don't know. Man, I hope I see some sales soon here. And the next problem is shipping it because I don't have the liquid cash today. I might later though. I just might later. I would hate when I have to go down and pay my Wi-Fi bill. There'll only be about 40 people standing there waiting in line. But I don't trust him, and I'm not putting it on auto pay. I don't like auto pay. It's so hard to get rid of it. I bet I've got 2 or 3 emails from those jokers today. I'm just at the point of I'm ready to tell them, look, I don't sell the kind of junk that you got listed on your site. You know, I just don't have stuff like that. And I'm not
with my name and me, I am not going out to buy junk. This belongs in a trash can to sell on a site. I'm not putting my name behind stuff like that. I just don't want to because I'm kind of, here's what I'm kind of thinking. I'm kind of thinking that there's shills on there and bidding stuff up, and then some fake sales to make it look really exciting and coerce people to purchase because it's been in existence since 2019. And if it hasn't gotten any bigger than what it is now, that bothers me. Why is that? And why is everybody selling pure garbage? I mean, I just don't see anything good on there. Maybe I missed all the good auctions. I don't know, but I clicked on every single one. And they had no variety. I mean, they didn't have variety. They had Pokemon cards, and they had some other card, and then they had a bunch of used clothes. And it just looked like junk. You know, it's not like any other site where like you go and you find, you know, tools, and then you can find, you know, a spot where you can go find clothes. And the next one's like for shoes or art and craft supplies or makeup. Or, you know, it just only had a few things on there and what, like 100, 200 sellers. It just didn't. Why is it so small? And why are these people claiming they're making thousands of dollars every time they do an auction? Probably because the people are paying them to say that. And they're big influencers and they're dragging all their subs over there to buy from them. You know? So that they're forcing them to bring them business and build their business. I mean, it just sounds like a 12-year-old designed the site and a 12-year-old's idea. And yeah, he could be the next Elon Musk. I don't know. It's a really good idea. It's just they really need to class it up. And then what did they do to the other sellers that were on there that don't want to come back? What's going on? You know, there's something wrong with the picture. Yeah, there's always room for change, but there's something wrong with the picture. I'm just not getting it. Just not getting it. God, I got this stuff for $5. I'm just about to choke. I don't know if I can do any more price changes today. It's painful, man. I keep having to knock it down. But I mean, if I could get it to start flying, and then really flying, and I could run out 250 items, and list 250 more, it'd be real nice. Get this stuff moving. But it's just not doing a thing. More time seemed like it was a job application. Yeah, and you should have seen it. I had to do two. I had to do one. It wouldn't let you do anything unless you signed up. And then I had to do the other one. It's for the selling. And it was as comical as the one you used to sign up. Okay? And it didn't even make any sense. It would this thing would come up on your phone and it goes, because it tell you can't do it on a computer, you have to go to your phone. And I was like, what? And then, you know, it would come up and it'd ask you a question and have a place where you could type out a little sentence for something. You know, like, what do you plan to sell? And then you tell them, you know. And then it come up with a thing on the next page with like 4 selections. And none of them were really any good for me because, you know, it would say sports, Pokemon and sports, Pokemon cards, and I don't do that. And then it would say Poo Bunk or whatever that new thing is, the new toy they're selling. It's like Furby. It was something like that, and I don't do any of that. I don't even know what it is. And then, you know, then it would say like T-shirts, and it's like, well, I really don't do that either. You know, I'm like shoes, gowns, jewelry, baby clothes. I do a variety of things, but there was nothing that really described me. And then they'd say, okay, now write a sentence about it or something. And then you write that. And then it'd go to the next one. Even at the end of the whole application, it had a yellow line on the bottom that goes, now click and share it on Instagram. And I'm like, you know what? I'm not even going to do that. You know, it just seemed like they really, trying to drag people in to promote them just for the use of promoting them, you know. And I don't know, it just seems weird. Yeah, I would like to get on it. I'd like to be like doing auctions like I do YouTube, I would like to be, having all these people, bid away and go crazy on stuff and pay me $300, for a gown, instead of, like 100. Yeah, that would be fun. Um, uh, uh, yeah, I'd like to sell all my stuff, even if it comes close to what it costs to make me just to roll it out and do $2,000 or $3,000 for an auction for 20 minutes or 2 hours, you know, and do maybe one or two of those a day and just get everything sold off, so I'm at the minimum. God, I don't have any furniture left. I only have a couple pieces I saved, and it's nothing. I mean, not even a bed, not even a couch. All that stuff, that's all I've got. So I'm just trying to reduce because, you know, 80% of what I own is commercial stock and supplies for store. So just trying to run it out. But, you know, I don't know. I just don't know. And then sellers are saying stuff like, yeah, and then they'll buy the, prize box thing that you give away. They want you to do giveaways all the time, and not just one, and you'll sell more if you do giveaways and all that. And then the next thing you know, they're saying, oh, well, they pay for the giveaways. And God, some of it, I watched a couple of those things where they're like, this is a $1,200 shirt. And it's like, so are they paying $1,200 for that shirt? For you to do it as a giveaway? I mean, I'm not getting it. Why would a company put out that kind of money, to the sellers to try to promote and attract people to come for giveaways or whatever? I mean, it's like, how can you afford to do that? You know what I mean? And then the girl was saying that, he sold like 20 auctions on there. She said, yeah, and they're really pretty good because, they do it a lot where they'll tell you to go out and buy stock, and they'll give you the money to go out and buy your stock that you're going to sell. And so it's really, really worth it, and I'm like, so now they're buying your stock. And then, that makes me wonder about why they're so thorough with me. Going, okay, well, can you send us some pictures? I sent a picture of an entire storage, huge storage with containers in it, all labeled. It's all stock, retail stock. And they seem to not be satisfied or something. They want some more pictures. And what kind of pictures do you want? Do you want me to pull out a bunch of stuff and make it like a storefront display and take a picture of it, send it to you, and go, hi? I mean, I can't put everything in a picture. I have very diverse. I have so many things I do, from children's clothes to men's clothes to women's clothes and shoes and new and used and collectible, antiques and tools, and I have all kinds of stuff. I do sunglasses. I mean, it just, what is it that you exactly want from me? I've sent them so many pictures in the last 2 days, and then I'm like, why am I even sending them all that? Why do they need to see all my inventory? This doesn't make any sense. I never had to do that for Amazon or eBay. The only thing I ever had to prove with them was receipts for products, that it's my inventory and I really have it in stock. So I don't know. It's just strange. Just strange. I'm trying to puzzle it out, and I'm having problems with it. And I'm hoping other people see the same thing, because I'm not getting it. And there's not many YouTube vlogs, and the little bit that there are, they're either entirely fake, or they're people that are like hush hush, that aren't telling everything that exactly is going on in their bad experience. That's kind of creepy. I don't get it. So there's stuff we're not knowing, Yeah, that site needed more time. Seemed like it was a job out. Well, on the part of the selling part, it was just strange. It was real quick, boom, boom. But then, I got an email immediately where other people are saying, oh, they haven't contacted me for 4 months or 6 months, or, I applied and they never responded. And all that. Well, hell, that's as soon as I hit that go button, man, I got an email maybe, 20, 30 minutes after. And, and then they were like, it was like, it turned me down and said, we are only taking influencers, major influencers, and people that reside in the United States, and you had to be over 19. They kept changing from 18 to 19. And I sent them a thing back. I said, and like, I am all that. And then they bid again. The next day, they sent me 3 emails, And they just keep bouncing around. They sent me one that insulted me the other day. They said, well, we're just not selling that kind of stuff on our site. We're trying to class it up. Class it up. I'm like, class it up. Like I sent them pictures of freaking cases of jewelry and ready to sell right now. If I wanted to go to the flea market, or an event, I can lay my jewelry cases out on the table and we're ready to roll. All my stuff looks way better than all the garbage you're selling on its site. So I'm losing patience with them. I would like to, but I shouldn't have to go through all this bull crap. They're nobody big. It's not like I'm dealing with Amazon or eBay. But these people don't look big at all, and they really don't look big when freaking my brother drives over there and he thinks it's hilarious because this big corporate and the picture on the website of the building and the other picture of the website on the supposed building that's their corporate doesn't even exist. He's like, yeah, so that place. He's like, I'm just walking out of it. I said, you're at the corporate? And he's like, yeah. And he's like, it's one of those little places where like you rent a mailbox thing in a building. I'm like, it's the United States Post Office. He goes, no, it's just one of those, rent places. And I'm like, shut the door. So funny. But anyway, I've got to roll. I've got to go do some errands, and I will see you guys in a little while. It's been a slice of heaven. I love you so much. And everybody have a really great, happy, and peaceful day. I love you guys. Do some kind for a stranger. See you in the next one.